Pete here with Keaton's Collectibles, and today we have the mother effing king, KiLynn King here. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you here. Keaton's got some great stuff, so make sure you check out keatonskollectibles.com for all the merchandise that he has that we're going to be signing today. He's got some great 8x10 pictures and some posters that are really cool. We'll show them all to you in a little bit.
I was about to say,
yeah.
do you show them?
Yeah, we'll show. But first, before we get started, just you've been here in Florida. We're in Florida right now in Celebration Town Center. So if you come to Florida, make sure you come check out Celebration. Thank you for allowing us to use your space here. But you've been wrestling in Florida for a while, so did you get started in Florida? How'd your wrestling career get started?
I did. Okay, so I'm originally from Ohio.
Okay.
But I wasn't really educated as to where wrestling was in Ohio. So when I knew that I wanted to get into wrestling, I think because of the Performance Center and everything, I was like, let's go to Florida. So my two brothers and we moved here, and I was in Orlando for 2016 to 2019, 2020.
Okay.
And then I've been in South Florida for the last 3 years. So so a lot of my wrestling journey started here in Florida, day one. So took my first bump in Florida, had my first match in Florida. Lots of had to deal with the heat for a long time. Now we're going out about in other parts of the world, but
there you go. Well, I mean, it's like 80 degrees here in Orlando.
Yeah,
so hopefully everybody up in Ohio is doing okay with the cold weather up there right now.
Oh, they can deal with it. They chose to stay there, so.
Well, there you go. Well, it's been really exciting. So I first saw you at an Ignite wrestling show. So shout out to Kim, who brought us down there, and actually we're Keaton's Collectibles. So they made your first card over at
yes. He really
Ignite
wants
there.
one, Kim. Can you
I know. Come on,
just
Kim.
print some more, okay? One last final thing. Make a couple extra bucks. Make sure that he's one of the people that gets it.
There you go.
So yeah, so
I got you. I appreciate it. But that's for a collectibles thing. So let's talk about collectibles a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you keep any of your your merch, your gear, your stuff from your historic matches? You have a collection at home?
I have a little bit of a collection. It's nothing crazy. I haven't pay-per-view gears. I try to hold on to.
Okay.
Some of the other ones I sell a little bit here and there,
Sure.
but I kind of tend to cling to the pay-per-view gears. But anytime I get the first of something, I hold on to that for sure.
Okay.
So I have my first. Well, I don't have my first playing card.
Oh, okay.
But I have the one after that. The real indie
Raw Deal. Yeah.
Raw Deal, yes, thank you.
Those guys are great.
They made me a really cool collection of 8x10 card or promo shot card and action cards. So I hold on to those. Okay. And then every time I get a new T-shirt design, I always save one for myself.
Oh, there you go.
Because you got to be a mark for yourself in this business, or else
Absolutely. You need to.
And then whenever fan artwork, I keep those because it still blows my mind that people care enough that they want to draw my face. Not to mention make me look cool. We were just talking about this a second ago. Make me look cooler than I actually am. So when they put that effort in, I'm like, I want to hold on to these.
You're pretty cool already, but some people do it. Some people do a pretty good job of artwork and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that. All right, so here's the first thing, I guess.
Speaking of artwork.
So Guy Slowinski is a rock star. This is the first poster. Guy has worked on pretty much every signing that Keaton's done lately, anyway, and has done some artwork. So
cool.
Yeah. So this was he actually drew the individual.
I also want to point out that he drew my abs way better than they actually are. You're giving me way too much credit. I enjoy pizza and donuts and stuff like that, and so on a good day, it's kind of like that. So thank you. I realize that started to sound negative. This isn't a negative thing. I'm appreciating the fact that you made my abs better than they are.
He did pretty good. He did
great.
Good. But we definitely want to make sure we get one of these signed to Guy because he's the man that comes up and creates all this and does all this work.
I also think it's cool that the logo on the jacket is ours, Keaton's Collectibles.
Yeah. When you guys reached out to me about this, I was like, I wonder if they did that on purpose, at the back-to-back K. They were like, oh, we have the same thing. We have to work together.
I believe Kairi Sane's logo is almost exactly the same too.
She started doing the thing on her cheek, and I was like,
Yeah.
Copyright.
No. Let's see right here. Big thank you.
Yeah, he does some cool stuff.
There
He's
we go.
He's done about every signing we've had in the past year and a half.
There you go, guy.
So
All right. So yeah, before we get to some more signing stuff, so you're now traveling all over the place for wrestling.
Yeah, it's great. I
Yeah.
love it. Because there was a period in time where it's like if I wanted to go anywhere outside Florida, I had to spend money I didn't have just so I could make $20.
Right.
And it was great. But now it's like, oh, I can ask these things. All right, let's go. It's great. I really.
Yeah.
It's still that process of, oh yeah, I'm to this point now where I can do these things.
That's all, and
Yeah.
it means a lot that people want to bring you all the way
Yes.
out there. We were talking a minute ago about a photographer friend of ours, Roland, Tusslemania, if you're not following him. And I reached out to him about you and your Raw Deal IndyCar a while ago. And he's like, well, I'm going to be in Texas. And she's wrestling at a Mission Pro show.
Yeah.
So I'll get you over there. And then the next thing...
Oh yeah, I remember he
That
came
was-
to my table. Yes, he was like, hey, my buddy needs this and this and this. Like, I got you.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, next week you were somewhere else, like very far away from Texas. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, she's getting all over the place.
The
It's awesome.
beginning of 2023 has been, because some changes are coming about, so it's been a little bit slower because I'm figuring out a new schedule. But
Sure.
last year for sure, like there were some weeks where I was like, okay, I can, and then there were other weeks where I'm like all over the place, and you get so tired and stressed in the scenarios, but then you have to stop and be like, no, this is what I wanted. This is okay. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, it's fine.
You work hard to get to
So,
that point.
Yeah, so I'm very, very grateful for it because I remember when I first started, I was lucky if I had one booking each month. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
there was a lot of times where I would just hop in people's cars and drive to shows. I wasn't booked. The promoter didn't know who I was. I mean, I DM'd them, but
No, yeah.
read and didn't respond kind of thing. And now it's to the point where it's like, I still get like that little, hey, can you pay me this and cover flight and all that? And I'm like, eh. And they're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah,
Should have asked for more.
let's do it. Oh, that's the worst feeling is when you think you're asking too much and then they're like, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, oh, I should have gone $50 more.
They can include dinner too. I mean,
Oh yeah, and some promoters out there, they take very good care of you. I've had some really great experiences with some recent promoters. They appreciate your business and they take care of you while you're there. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Very cool. Was there a Keaton? You got a bunch of stuff up here. Is there any specific ones you guys think
we usually do posters first and then move on to 8x10s.
Okay.
We were supposed to have one other thing, but it didn't make it in time. Would
Oh,
you like to
well,
announce that too?
Oh yeah, we can talk about that. So Keaton is going to be making some cards, wrestling cards now. So there will be a KiLynn King card. So eventually, at some point soon in the future, you'll be able to check them out. KiLynn will have something as well. So you can reach out to her, or you can reach out to Keaton. But he will have some cards that you can get too.
And
Yeah.
they will all be serial number to 100
Yep.
with individual numbers, so there won't be another number of that.
Limited, 100 only.
Yes.
No more than that.
No.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll start. I guess just sign a couple of these.
Or nobody specific, just signing away.
We always at least ask every once in a while you put something different than just your name on something.
Okay.
A small inscription of some sort, but otherwise. And you can write whatever you want on them too.
So it's not to anybody specific.
No,
It's-
no.
Or pre-sales work. Do you have any?
Oh yes. We have personalizations. We'll get to the 8x10s.
I just don't want to.
Yeah.
Yes. No, this is our first on-air personalizations for multiple personalizations we've had. Everyone's been just buying just straight autograph.
Yeah.
I usually have my tablet ready to get that information, but it was updating as we were going live. So,
Nice.
I think I have a question. Do you still have the bunny, the stuffed bunny from the Queen of Crazy days?
I do.
Yeah.
He retired.
Yeah.
Because if you've kept up with those days, that period of my career didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Because not to call him out, but Billy Gunn hated it. Hated it. It was one of those things where I didn't know who I was in that ring
Yeah.
yet, so I just needed something to talk to.
Yeah.
Like I just needed an outlet so that way I could do some weird stuff and have a reason for doing weird stuff. And,
Yeah, well.
and that's what it literally, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this story, but it was like right after Easter. I had just started doing shows, and I was walking through the clearance section, and the little bunny rabbit was sitting on the clearance shelf, and it was like $3, and I was like, I don't know why, but I need to buy this bunny rabbit. I have no clue why my brain is telling me, but I've also been a big believer that if my brain or my gut tells me something,
Always your gut.
just
Do
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
So I bought the bunny rabbit, and I took it to training, and my trainer looked at me and was like, why the hell did you bring a stuffed animal to wrestling school? And I went, I don't know. And so then I started doing matches with it, and it ended up being something really, really funny. I'm gonna do it up higher, a little bit bigger. I just realized it's really, really low. So I started doing shows with it, and around that time I hadn't seen Billy in a while. Like him and I weren't seeing each other as often. And so one day, like, he saw me work with it, and he was just like, I freaking hate it. Stop. He was like, he's like, you don't need it. Figure something else out. and it got to the point where he had repeated that statement a couple times. So I was like, all right, I got to do something else.
Listen to
Yeah, because Billy has always been a guiding light in my career.
Yeah.
Like he's always looked out for me really good. So I was like, anything Billy says, like I take it to heart. So eventually I just dropped it. I stuck with the Queen of Crazy for a little bit because it was catchy.
It was fun. Yeah.
But then once I found my way into AEW, I was like, I don't feel the need to do it anymore. I was like, I feel more like a fighter as opposed to like crazy. Yeah. So.
Now it'd be like a merch tool.
Oh yeah.
you could have 50 bunnies at the
one of these days. Oh yeah. There were so many merch options that we had, but it got to the point where it's like I was so broke at the time that like I couldn't get into that started. They were like, yeah, you should make like little keychains, little bunny ears and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's great. I said, who wants to pay for it?
Right. There's no bunny ear sponsor.
Yeah. We'll make this one the mother effing.
Oh, there you go.
We actually saw you the first time in that character at Fest.
The bunny?
You know, like the promo picture they used was you sitting on the floor with the bunny.
Yeah.
So every time I think of you, I think of that because it's the first time I've ever seen you advertise for anything.
Yeah.
So
that was it was a very interesting time because that was back when I had no money, so I couldn't afford gear. So I just wrestled in shorts, a sports bra, and my Converse. It was my ode to AJ Lee. It wasn't look anything like AJ Lee, but I had Converses on, so it was my ode to AJ Lee. But eventually over time, I was like, I look nothing like AJ Lee. I love her. I was like, but my look can't look like her. I was like, I gotta try something else. And that's when I finally started experimenting and had a little bit more money. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna play around with some gear makers. And then eventually it led to the glamorous warrior, here I come to kick your ass kind of.
It's working. It's working.
Yeah, and that's slowly evolved over time. Now we're kind of being more like a glamorous punk with like more of the mesh and the rips and stuff like that. So we're playing with it.
There you go. Well, you mentioned AJ Lee. So did you have like favorite wrestlers growing up? Like, did you watch wrestling as a kid?
Yes.
Like, when did you get into it?
So my brother Lucas was the big wrestling guy in our family, and it was one of those things where we would watch it with when our parents were gone, because my mom and dad, because especially during the Attitude Era, my mom, she walked in and she's like, what are you guys watching? Like, this is the devil's TV. And so we were kind of not allowed to watch it, so we would like wait until they went off on their date nights, and then my brother would get his VHS tapes and give them to his friends, and we would record them, and yeah. We were sneaky little children. And yeah, so we would watch them together, and I just remember like loving the fact that no matter what was going on in our lives or how much we hated each other at the time, like all of us would just sit still and chill and be like, oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin kicking some ass, and it was great. And my brother, one of his favorite wrestlers is The Rock.
Oh yeah.
And The Rock, Randy Orton, Stone Cold, like all the Attitude,
Yeah.
all the classics. So he would like be cutting the Rock promos all the time. And he had not to put him on blast, but he had every version of The Rock's theme song over the years.
Okay.
Like the WrestleMania, the drawn out one with the helicopter. Like he had all of those songs on his laptop, and he had every version. So he was the one who really got me into wrestling, and then like there was a period of time where I stopped watching it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I got back into it in the early 2000s. I want to say like 2008, 2009,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
And there was just this instinct that came over me. I was like, I'm not just a fan. I was like, I think I'm supposed to do this. And like it was one of those things where I knew my mom and my dad weren't crazy about it, so I was like, nah, I gotta listen to my mom, go to college, do all this stuff. But no matter where I went in my journey in life, like I always kept watching and I always kept thinking about it. And then it got to the point where one day I was sitting in the middle of a college lecture and I was like, I have to do this. Like, I literally can't stop thinking about it. And it's crazy to think because everything that I did while I was in college led to me being prepared to go into the world of professional wrestling, because like in high school and college, I did drama, I did musicals and stuff like that, and plays.
Okay.
And then once I turned 18, I went into martial arts and all that
So
stuff.
ask you
And I
were
did
you
that for 6
athletic in high
years.
school and everything?
Yeah, and of course, growing up with 5 brothers, like
Yeah,
I played,
you had to.
like I always played sports because
Yeah.
it was like if they're doing it, I'm doing it. So like all of the little things that I got into that I liked, but I was never like, this is it.
Yeah.
They all led to the thing that was supposed to be it, which was professional wrestling. And even to like when I started doing martial arts, I felt so uncoordinated, so I got into dance because I was like, oh, well, I'm in performing arts anyway, so I was gonna have to learn how to dance, and this will help me with my martial arts. And I really I loved competing, so I wanted to get better at it.
Yeah.
And all of those little things are what prepared me so that when I finally did get into a wrestling ring, I could pick it up as quickly as I could.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, so it blows my mind because if you look at it and you're like, oh, did I waste all those years? And I could have gotten into a wrestling ring sooner, but I think of it as like, no, I think I had to do all that stuff before I got into a wrestling ring, because I don't know if I would be the wrestler I am now if I hadn't. So
Hey, everybody's path is different that
Yeah.
leads you to get there, and if you didn't go through that, you probably wouldn't be where you're at today. So.
100%. Let me try together. So one, I feel like this one's not.
And Justin Shelton's in the chat. Wrestling
Ooh.
Warehouse. You know
Yes,
Wrestling
yeah.
Warehouse. And he said to tell you, Rose loves you.
Yes! Aw, Rose. We just saw her recently, actually.
What's up, Justin? Thanks for watching, man.
Yeah, if we were at the, when I was at the Atomic show, I guess she didn't know that I was going to be there.
Oh, really?
So she freaked out, yeah, it was very sweet. Cause I met her back at Ignite, and then, COVID obviously happened, and I went off into the world and started working other places, and I really don't work in Florida that much anymore.
Right, yeah.
So I hadn't seen her in 2-3 years. And so she showed up at the show, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so tall. Like,
Right.
what's going on? It was very, very cool.
They really do grow up quick.
Yes.
Too fast.
But it's really cool to me that, however many years has passed, she still comes to the shows and watches it and remembers the people that she originally, got into. I love that stuff. It's the little things, man.
No, for sure. I just remember, we lived in this area. My daughter's 13 now, but we went to NXT. It was FCW. And
Yeah.
then it became NXT. But, we met Bailey, and my daughter's name was Emma, so there was Emma that was
Yeah.
Gail Tennille. And it was so cool because we used to go to the shows, there'd be 50 people there. And, you really got to know them. Not just, see them, but, every show we'd go to, it'd be
Yeah.
hey, there we are, here we are again. They only went through Florida at the time, so they weren't going all over the place.
Yeah.
And then just, to see how far everybody's come along in 10 years now, I guess it's been. But it's really cool to see.
I think I made a post about this not that long ago. One of my favorite things, especially in this business, is seeing people come into their own. Like whether you know them personally or you don't know them, just seeing where, like, if you get to be there in the moment when they first start, whether it's physically or just seeing them on TV, and then getting to see them grow and turn into something that's just like, it's like the metamorphosis.
Oh yeah.
It's so great. It literally takes your breath away. It always gives me chills when I think about it. Like there's some girls that I started in this business with that, like, I see them now and I'm like, it's night and day.
Yeah.
But we all know that you had to work really hard to get there, and look how it pays. Like, it's one of my favorite things. And then once it clicks, once it's in their head, like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
You can see it. It's what's the word? Ethereal. Like, it's just beautiful.
Hey, hard work pays off.
Yeah.
You know, if you put in the effort and the time.
Yeah.
And you have to get the break too. I mean, there's always like the right person seeing you, or you know, there's always that.
That's why, like, I always love tuning into the pay-per-views to see my friends wrestle, because I'm like, I just want to see how you progress and what turns and changes you make.
All we've been talking about recently, Pete and I, is Masha Slamovich being the #1 contender for Mickie James and Nick Gage for World Championships simultaneously.
Yeah. Yo,
like
she blew up in the last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, mind you, like, she's everywhere. Like, that, I don't think that girl sleeps. But like, it just blows my mind, because, like, she was already great when I met her, and then, like, the last year or so, I just feel like there's no promotion that her face isn't on, which is what we all work for. So, like, whatever she's doing, she is.
I think they said she had like the second most matches. Like Mike Bailey, I think, had the most. And
Yeah.
she was second. Like of anybody.
her and Billy Starks. Billy Starks is everywhere
right,
too.
yeah.
Another person that I absolutely adore. Like, I love Billy. I've only wrestled her twice.
Okay.
And the first time I wrestled her was like very last minute. She was supposed to wrestle. I think she was supposed to wrestle Lady Frost.
Okay.
But then she ended up not being able to come, and I just happened to put out a post saying, like, hey, I need to fill this date at the last second. And they were like, oh, Billy needs an opponent.
Oh, wow.
And, like, I knew of her, but I had never wrestled her. And so the moment we locked up, because, like, it was one of those things where she was one of those opponents where you didn't really have to talk that much. And I love opponents like that, because it's just like, all right.
I mean, now 18, but she's 17 years
Well,
old.
when I wrestled her, she was 16.
Oh my goodness.
I remember I went back to an AEW taping, and I went up to Diamante, and I was like, yo, you'll never guess what I did this weekend. She's like, what did you do? And I was like, I beat up a 16-year-old. And she was like, yo, wrestling's wild, right? And I was like, yeah. I was like, anywhere else, I'd have gotten arrested for that. I'm a 30-year-old who beat up a 16-year-old. I just thought that was hilarious.
No, I mean, it's crazy. She put out a post the other day with pictures when she was like this little.
Yeah.
With like some of the wrestlers that
Yeah.
now she's in the ring with and everything like that. It's like, it's so cool just to see, you know, how far she's come. But
it's just like, wrestling fans don't look at it like that. They're just like, oh, it's two wrestlers in the ring.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here going, like, I'm beating up a child. Yeah.
do you remember where that match was? Where you...
Oh, that was in New Jersey.
Okay.
It was, I'm trying to remember the name of the promotion. It was a buddy. He only ran once.
Okay. Yeah.
It was one of those things where he was trying to run his own show, and then it just ended up not working
it's
out.
tough,
But I mean, I'm grateful for it, because it gave me the opportunity to work her and meet her.
Of course.
And then the second time I worked her was for Kenzie Page's show. Sorry, I haven't slept a lot.
No, you're fine.
24 hours, and when that happens, I have trouble remembering things. KFW.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say it was there, but like we had a thing where her and I had a singles match, which led into a tag match. So that was the second time I wrestled her, but I want to wrestle her more.
Yeah, right. Let's bring it.
Let's someday make it happen.
Yeah, right. Hey, if you're out there,
She's like
Billy
one of my-
Starks, Island King.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites.
She's on top of our list to have a signing with too. So
Yo, Billy, get your ass down to Florida. Come on.
Yeah, we know it's cold up there, you know, so come down.
You can come hang out with me,
There you go.
and then I can beat you up some more for free. No, didn't mean to do that.
Then I take you out to Disney the day after you beat the crap out of her.
What's that?
Then I take you out to Disney the day after you beat the crap
Yeah,
out of her.
we'll go to Disney.
He'll get you into Disney.
Well, she just went to Disney, I think. So maybe we'll go to Universal.
Universal.
Yeah. I might get scolded for this, but I enjoyed Universal way
I do
more than
too.
Disney.
I do too.
I've been to Disney so many times because a friend of mine, her dad worked there, and he would let us in all the time and give us his passes. So when I lived in Orlando, I went there quite a few times. I love Epcot.
Yes.
Epcot's great. But the other parks, I'm like, they're really beautiful to look at, but I don't have a child with me. So there's like,
It really is.
for me, it's like I want to go on the roller coasters and enjoy the view, but after about a few hours, I'm like, I'm dead.
Well, even
But
Magic
when I
Kingdom
went to
doesn't have
Universal,
that.
I was like, yo, okay, this is my vibe. Like,
That's my
yeah.
vibe too.
When I went to the Harry Potter section, I was like, I want to go into the castle. Like, it was so cool.
Did you buy the wand?
Oh yeah, did you buy the wand?
No. Okay.
They have two
so,
different ones. There's the regular one and the power.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the day that I finally got to go to Universal was one of the days that we were here for Dark Takings.
Okay.
So it was one of the days where the Dark Takings started way later in the day than they usually
Okay, well,
did.
yeah, so you're there
So
already,
one of
yeah.
our buddies hooked us up and he was like, "Hey, I can get you in the Universal for free." And we're like, "Let's go!"
Right.
But we could only go for like 2 hours.
Okay.
So he had to give us like the
The
quick
super,
version.
yeah.
So we went into the Harry Potter area and we went on the ride. But when we were walking through like the alley area, like we didn't have time to stop anywhere because I wanted to do the butterbeer. I wanted to get I wanted to go wand chopping.
Right.
But we were looking at the clock and we're like, yeah, we don't have time. So
The butterbeer is actually pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's
Only
my
if
favorite.
you knew somebody who liked you and could get you free tickets in the Universal whenever you wanted. I don't know.
I don't come to Orlando that often anymore. I might now.
Yeah.
I might, like we'll make it happen
Yeah.
for sure. I'm working for a few, like for the longest time,
Yeah.
the only promotion I worked for in Florida was CCW, but there's been a couple other promotions that are like, hey, we'll pay your rate if you come. I'm like, if you're gonna pay my rate, then yes, I work in Florida.
There you go.
Yeah, so we'll make it happen.
So I believe someone in the chat just bought one of our other poster options just now. So we'll get
Oh,
to
we
that.
finally get to sign one of those. I lost
So
the
let's
cap
see
for this
here.
one.
It is just an autograph. I don't think they want it personalized,
Okay.
but it's going to Robert. We can display this too.
Oh,
But
yeah.
one of our favorite shots we ever had for a private, a virtual signing.
So this was at Sausage Castle,
Oh, there you go.
and her and I, like, so we're a tag team.
Beautiful.
We're the overreactors, like ovaries, because feminists. And
That's perfect there.
see, like you can't just say overreactors. You have to explain the whole thing, so people will be like,
Yeah.
because most people don't think about it, and I want them to understand, like, no, this is clever.
Yeah.
We have a clever tag team name. We started last year. Like, we always joked about getting tagged together, and then we tried, Billy Starks booked it for one at her birthday show. And then, like, because her and I, our career paths took very different turns. So I didn't see Sawyer for the longest time.
Okay.
And then Billy Starks booked us in a tag match together, and we were like, are we finally going to do it? And she's like, yeah. So she came up with a few tag team names, and I was like, overreactors, that one's freaking genius. So we did that. But then at this show, we randomly got booked in a singles match. So that booth was standing there, and I looked, we looked at each other and we're like, so after we get all bloodied up, are we gonna go take a picture? And I was like, Death Barbie. Like it was so funny. And it's crazy because we literally took that with our phone, and it's probably one I've had people like I've done signings, and like they print out all my other professional pictures, and then I'll have fans bring that one.
Wow.
So I always take a video and I send it to her. I'm like, look, somebody brought us the picture, but now we got like a big poster of it, so it's great. Yeah, that was taken on an iPhone, guys.
That is awesome.
Remind me again, who am I saying this to?
It is going to Robert.
To Robert. Okay.
He's in the chat and everything. He said, thank you, it's awesome.
I'll give you a little story to go along with the signature, right? I will just sign by me, that way if she ever gets a chance. There you go, Robert. Personalized to you.
Very cool.
These two are from John, J-O-H-N.
J-O-H-N. Alright, got a couple of different 8x10 options right
Do you want
here.
him to say two, John?
Yes.
J-O-H-N, you said?
Yes. He said, thank you. Robert.
You are very welcome, Robert. Boom.
Yeah.
This was actually, no, this was a professional camera. Never mind. I was about to say like, that was an iPhone picture too, but it wasn't.
Yeah, John, that came out pretty good right there. Very cool.
I always get scared with gold, but that one came out pretty good.
Very nice.
You definitely had some great gear. Looking at through all these pictures here and everything.
I got really lucky when I was at AEW. They allowed me to look at the list of gear makers that most of the wrestlers there use, and I found this guy named Josh, and he's like, you have to wait a little bit to get the gear, but it's always worth it because like, I don't think I've ever had to send anything back to him to get fitted, because there's been a couple people where it's like, it fits here, but it doesn't fit here. But with him, like, everything always hugs the right way, and I'm like, okay, I can move around this and not have to, like, grab everything. So, and he seemed to pick up the aesthetic that I wanted pretty quickly. I didn't have to over-explain it to him.
Yeah, no.
So I was like, all right, cool. So
I think he's definitely gotten it.
let's try. Let's do the white on this. I feel like the silver is wanting to fight.
That was our first on-air sale
Oh yeah.
so far. So
Hey.
and I'm glad he got to hear the story behind it too, because
Yeah.
that makes a huge difference when you're buying
Of
something.
course. Well, because some of these pictures, like, it's very posed and like, oh, and I didn't need new pictures done. But some of these are just like, hey, like, for just having fun. And when it's pictures like that, it's really cool to tell the story.
I think that definitely works out too. Like if you're having fun, it comes
Yeah.
across. You can see it in a photo if
Like-
somebody's really having a good time. Or
Like, this was one of those things where taking this picture was more for her and I,
Oh,
just
right,
for
yeah.
our own fun. And then we ended up posting it, and it like blew up. And I was like, hey,
Yeah.
sometimes that's how it happens.
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. This white marker is trying to ruin my leather pants.
Alex Red is in the chat.
Hello, Alex.
What's up, man?
He said KiLynn is awesome. We want to have her back at ALW soon.
Yes, we will make this happen. All right, I need to get in closer because the ink is trying to kill my outfit.
Was it Fight TV, the favorite ALW one, right? Fight.
Yes, yep.
Fight TV.
I actually haven't seen that match yet.
Yeah, and her and Leva had a great match.
That was the first time Leva and I have wrestled each other in like 4 or 5 years.
I felt like the crowd at the beginning because Leva is loved at that
Oh,
show.
yes.
Right, like she is loved.
Leva's
And-
loved everyone.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
It's Leva.
All right,
Yeah.
But so she was the first ever champion there. Like she's been around. Like the crowd loves her.
Yeah.
And so it was like very mixed at the beginning, but by the end of that match, like they were so for you. I thought that was like one of the coolest.
I
like,
was also being very, very, very feisty with her, and
get it.
I think no matter whether you're a good guy or a bad guy, like fans appreciate when you banter back with them. And since day one, no matter how good or terrible a match is going, I always have a good ear. Like this is the one thing I pride myself on. I always have a good ear for what the hell did you say?
Yeah.
And just like going with them. So. Especially on independent shows, they really
of
appreciate
course,
that.
yeah. No, I mean it was really cool to see like how the audience like. I'm not turned on Leva because they still loved her, but it was like it was almost 50-50 at the end, and it's like wow,
They were
she is
appreciative.
right, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
They really were.
It was more about I don't really want to boo KiLynn. I want to support Leva, but I can't boo KiLynn.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is like ever since AEW, I majority of the time always get booked as a face, as a good guy, and people, especially after COVID, when people were deprived of wrestling for so long, when they see the people that were still able to wrestle during COVID come out of their shows, they're like, "Hey!"
Right.
and they're happy to see you.
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird things where the few times that I have been booked as a heel, like people still cheer me when I come out, and then I just sit there and be like, "No." You and like, and I'm like, so sorry. Like, thank you for being happy that I'm here, but
Just kidding.
just kidding.
And I was thinking the other day, I would love to see a one-on-one women's main event in Atomic at some point.
Oh yeah, for
we,
sure.
We
for
had
sure.
a women's
I have.
all-women's tag team match.
I have main evented before, guys, so
Yeah. Well, that's
I can handle the pressure.
I mean, if we would have Leva, Sue, KiLynn, and Masha fatal four-way, I know that's not one-on-one, but that would be a headlining match.
That's still a lot of possibilities right there. Though. So I always thought that people loved multi-man because, like, when I watch multi-man matches and I see the avenues that people take in them, I get so amped and like hyped for it. So I always thought that everybody loved multi-man matches, and like once I learned and understand the formula of them, I was like, whenever I got booked in them, I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna do some cool shit in this thing. But I slowly learned that most people hate them because they can be very stressful. But I personally because I'm the person that I like to use people's bodies against each other.
Oh yeah.
So when I have the opportunity to be in a multi-man match where I can just start throwing people around, and I'm like, yeah, this is fun. But I guess not everybody feels that way.
I think watching them, like if you're trying to find out who the best is, like who is the best, then going one-on-one like makes it like if I beat you. But if there's 4 people in the match, it's still a great match. Obviously,
Yes.
everybody likes it.
Yeah.
But like if you're trying to prove who the best is, because if you pin the wrong person or you beat somebody else.
Sometimes it's really cool to see how clever you can get in those.
Oh yeah, no, right, absolutely.
Because it's very easy to be like, oh, I'll run the spot with this person, and then you guys get in, you guys run the spot. But for me, I like finding out how I can work a spot with all of them. I love stuff like that. It's like, how clever. What avenues can we find to manipulate each other's bodies and destroying each other? It's great.
Fest is always good at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so Alex heard that and said Saturday, July 1st, we have Masha, Leva, and Sue booked for our Star Spangled Slammer event. Just saying, Fatal 4 main event would be killer.
Ooh.
KiLynn King for the killer match coming at you.
Oh well, there's a date.
Yeah.
July 1st, you said?
Yeah.
DM me, Alex.
Uh-oh.
Actually, he might have already DM'd me, and I've been dealing with a lot lately, so my apologies. I actually was gonna put a post out about that, like, hey, there's probably a lot of DMs that I haven't gotten back to. I'm so sorry, guys. It's been a whirlwind.
Well, I saw your post like I guess a week or so before the Atomic show. You
Yeah.
said you were available that weekend, and I called Alex. I'm
Yeah.
like, Alex.
Oh, yes,
I'm
yes.
like, you need to make this happen, and it ended up being a killer match between you and Leva. So that was
Thank
awesome.
you.
No, that was cool.
I love Leva.
So July 1st, I need to put that on my calendar.
July 1st, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I'm booked that far. I don't have my. Okay, so I'm old.
You know, a lot of people though actually have
use
their
my
real.
phone.
A lot of people have their real calendar. I've talked to a lot of people like that they're going through.
Like I keep like if I'm at somewhere and I don't have my planner and somebody brings a date, I'll put the date down on my phone and be like, possibility, do I have this filled? But then but the things that I actually write down that are permanent, I put them in a planner.
Yeah.
Because for some reason there's something about opening something and writing that your brain because for example, like if somebody says, hey, I have this date. And if I write it down, my brain remembers that number and that month, and I'm like, I think I have something that day, but I'll let you know. As opposed to if I didn't write it down, they'd be like, yeah, and then I go back and I check, and I'm like, I told 3 different promoters that I could work that day, and I definitely can't. So, who asked me first?
That would be a fun one.
Trying to work 3 promotions in one day.
Yeah, well.
What if they're not the same state?
Well, you'd have to get close.
What if they're all at the same time? I mean, that would be impressive.
Mania weekend, if you're on, there's
But
like
you
the
know
noon
what?
show, there's the 3 in the afternoon show,
I'm
there's
a-
7 at night, and then they do
I'm
the
a Star
midnight
Trek
one.
fan.
Okay.
So my brothers were Star Wars, my dad was Star Trek, so I'm into both worlds. I'm not one of the it's either this or that.
You're not allowed to be into both. That's a rule.
Oh, no, that's fine. As long as I don't mix them up.
Okay.
That's the big sin between Star Wars and Star Trek is when you mix up the names or the worlds or something like that. People get really mad about that. Trust me. But I always joke that like one day transporters will be real, and I can just beam like I can go work this afternoon show and then beam myself to this state and go work that show. And like if that does become a thing, I don't care how broke I am, I will invest. And I will buy one because I can't tell you how many times like you have a rough day and all you want to do is go hug your parents. But in order to do that, you would have to pay like what $500-600 for a round trip just to go there for a day or two just to come back just for a hug. Like, nah, man, give me a transport.
Yeah.
That would be pretty sweet.
Right? It's gonna happen.
Here, maybe we'll start doing some of these ones just to
Yeah,
break it
absolutely.
up
Yeah.
a little bit. These ones are awesome. Oh, they're all awesome.
Let's see. I can't sign on my pants because that's black.
This is the only time that you'll hear me say we might make more of something, because we might make more of that if we have Sawyer.
Oh
which,
yeah.
Which is one of our top priorities. We literally went to the No Peace show to talk to you, Sawyer, and Chelsea about future signings. So.
Is it okay if I'm signing over the Barbie part?
No, that's fine.
Okay. I thought I wasn't great. I'm sorry. I'm like I'm weird. I have to have the picture at an angle and then sign at an angle. I've never been able to just sign straight. I feel like my signature gets all messed up.
So speaking of the bloody matches, so somebody had
Yeah.
come out recently and made that comment about women in death matches.
Who
and
said
whatever.
what about it?
Nobody relevant.
Yeah.
It's all right. I might lose a couple followers because of this, but I've had some gentlemen up in my DMs saying like, "Oh, you're such a great wrestler, but don't you dare gig again. Don't do that. Don't bleed. Like women shouldn't bleed." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Tell that to my."
Yeah.
That
What do you
does
think
that
happens once a month, dude?
Yeah, I said, we bleed more than a man will ever bleed in their lifetime, so I can bleed whenever the hell I want. Like, obviously I didn't say this to the person, but I was just like in my head, I'm like, first of all, my choice. Second of all, I'm already bleeding all the time. I was like, get out of here.
Wow.
I've always been a believer that whatever men can do, I can do. It's fine.
We asked Masha the same question, and her response was, "Well, don't watch them."
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a market for
If
it.
you,
know.
because usually when you do matches like that, the screen thing on YouTube is usually the part where you're bloody. So if it's not bloody, just don't go watch it.
Yeah.
Or just unfollow me. That's fine.
I think it says a lot that you can wrestle the different styles. Because there's some people that can,
Yeah.
technically, they only can do that style. Because maybe they don't have all the skills to do the
I'm
other one. So-
still learning a lot about deathmatch wrestling, and about like just doing any kind of like stipulation match where it requires different elements. But I've always understood like you don't know until you try it.
Right, yeah.
Because like people will say like, oh, but I don't know how to do a cage match. Okay, well, nobody knows how to do a cage match until they do one. Like, have somebody there who is educated, who has done it, who has studied it enough that they can help you plan it correctly. I was like, but don't be afraid to do it just because you've never done it. Because guess what? At one point you never took a bump and you had to do that. So, yeah. I like all different kinds of wrestling. That's why, like, for the longest time, you saw a lot of my wrestling had a lot of technicality in it because my other half, he's a huge technical wrestling fan, and so when I was training with him, it was just like I'm very obsessed with, hey, if I grab your hand and turn you this way and then rotate you this way, like, what are the different avenues that I can manipulate your body? And I found that very cool, and now I've been trying to figure out how to translate that into the powerhouse side, because I got to the point where they were like, hey, it's great that you can do that, but you need to figure out how to make that and still be big. And I was like, okay. So, and then of course with all the martial arts, like, I always knew how to punch and kick and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's like, I just like all of it and I want to know how to do all of it. But death matches I haven't done as much of, but I would like to do a few more here and there. Or I should say, I should like to do them more often. Because there is some really cool storytelling in death matches.
For sure, for sure.
Especially between certain, like, if you get the right opponent and stuff like that, like, there's some really cool storytelling in there.
I just don't know how you guys honestly physically do it. I grabbed the wrong end of a thumbtack bag one time. I was like, no, I'm a whip. I don't know how you guys do it.
Honestly, so there are some things that I've done or like bumps that I've taken where you don't feel it in the moment. Like, you really don't, because it's just a matter of turning, not thinking about it, taking it, and then just going with it. Like, there's this bump that I love to take where I fall to the outside from the top buckle, and it was explained to me, but nobody really showed me how to do it. They were just like, yeah, like, you just hold on to the top rope and fall that way. And I was like, okay. And then I did it, and the first time I did it, like, I just didn't think, I just flew. Yeah. And when I saw the footage back of it, I was like, oh, that's a really great looking cell. I really like that. And now whenever I have the opportunity, I'm like, hey, can I take that bump? Because it always gets a great reaction. And they're like, yeah, sure. And I just recently did it, and a fan came up to me afterwards like, we let you die. And I was like, good.
Yeah.
That means I did my job.
I almost did.
Yeah. I mean, you feel it a little bit later, obviously, but like in the moment, half the time I don't feel it. But that also might be a bad thing. Maybe I'm just like psychotic and I don't know.
Well, I've seen them pull out like Legos. Like that's not like a deathmatch thing.
Yeah.
My kids have Legos. I've stepped on a Lego
Yeah.
before and tried like a little baby.
But that pain's relatable. Like most people don't know. Like, I wonder what it's like to hit everything with a light bulb. Like people don't know that. But you step on a Lego, and think,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, because in those instances too, it's like you're moving around, your adrenaline's pumping, you're sweaty, you're not thinking about it. But when you step on Legos, you're just trying to get from point A to point B in your house, and you're not expecting any pain to come. So when it happens, you're like, mother. That and when you stub your toe.
Yeah.
Oh.
And some of those over.
Okay.
You want to? We'll just do a couple of different ones. And then
Yeah,
get back
absolutely.
to that.
Let's do gold. Well, do you think this will show up on there?
I think that's a pretty good color.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
try this. No,
We
not
had
again.
we had Vincent a few months ago, and he said he kept going back to the red because how well it looked on everything.
Oh yeah, that does look great. I love silver markers, but sometimes they get dry really quick.
Mm-hmm. They do.
The first signing we ever did, we used Sharpies. We will never do that again.
Oh really?
Because the gold Sharpie literally evaporated off every photo. It looks like it wasn't even signed.
No.
And I was like, all right, we just paid somebody and they sat there for an hour and we have nothing to show for it, right?
Oh, that sucks.
Luckily, some of them, they changed colors and the other colors were fine.
Yeah.
And the posters all came out great. But
Okay.
80% of the 8x10s are not usable.
Wow.
And so not only
There's
do we...
nothing worse than spending money for nothing. Oh.
And of
Well-
course, it had to be
a legend
A
in this
legend.
business.
No.
And we
Yeah.
might never get her again.
she said, we got the Auntie Jazz price.
Oh, okay.
So, because she was our very first one, and she
Mhm.
said, don't ever ask this of anybody else, but I'm going to charge you because you're getting the Auntie Jazz price.
Aw.
And there's some situations where we'll be at a show setting up as a vendor,
Yeah.
and they're flying in just for that night, and you're like, all right, can we do an impromptu signing right here? And they're like, yeah, just give me whatever. I'm already getting flown in, and they paid me to wrestle and everything. Just
Yeah.
give me whatever, and I'm totally fine with it.
And
And
that's
that's
got printer available, so he just
Yeah.
goes
Yes.
out to the car printer.
Sorry.
yeah, we
You have a car printer?
No,
No,
he
no.
should.
That's it. That's pretty cool to do.
He's also got a transporter. You should talk.
Hey. All right, so I'm gonna be working like 5 different shows next week.
but we can print up to a 13 by 19 poster.
Nice.
So Verizon really likes the 13 by 19 posters.
Yeah.
Because it looks like, you know, if you go to Walmart, that size almost. And he likes the bigger ones.
Yeah. I've been trying to get a banner made because, like, when I go to shows, I like my setup to be professional looking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of banners made here and there, but it's always the promotion always puts their tag on it. So I'm like, all right, it's a great poster, but I don't want to take this to another promotion and have another promotion's name on the
Yeah.
poster. So I've never kept them. But if anybody has any good deals out there,
I have
let me
a
know.
great banner
Oh,
printer.
oh.
I do marketing for a living, so I can,
Yes.
and they're down in South Florida too.
Yeah.
We're hoping to have for the next signing a backdrop with our logo on it so that when everyone watches it, they know
You know.
whose signing it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So another person hopefully we'll have in the future too. I thought we would include that.
That's a cool one.
I just literally came from her place.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's my best friend right there. Let's do black.
That's a cool shot.
Oh, these caps really don't like me.
Well, I saw her and others reacting to all the posts, and I'm like, I can't believe we've never had wrestlers react to things before. Like,
Yeah.
it's not actually the signing.
Well, when you put their friends on there, that they like to support their friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I met her, because we're both Florida babies, so I met her on the Independence in Florida, and her and I just, it was one of those things where, and we always joke about this, because at the time we'd only wrestled each other like once or twice, but we met each other, and we had like this instinctual feeling like, hey, you're going to be important to me. I don't know why, I don't know when, but you're important. And then we both ended up at AEW together, and we like literally roomed together all the time. We did everything together. We trained together. So it was one of those things where we became very important to each other, and we went through a lot of stuff together. So That is my homegirl right there. I love her to death.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She's another one of those, like, we saw her kind of coming up, and so for her to see her now on the big time. It's
She's
very
one of those
cool. I'm
people.
happy for her.
I think she's one of those wrestlers that people didn't realize how much she was capable of until she had the AEW platform to have big matches
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah, right.
Because sometimes when you get stuck in the same area, you either wrestle the same people over and over again, or you constantly get stuck with newer people.
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily do the stuff that you practice on your own. But when she got to AEW, she was able to start doing all that stuff that she's always been capable of doing. So it was really cool to see her get to have some of those big storylines and really get seen by the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's just got so much charisma. She really does.
And she has her own action figure now. which is
Yes.
Pick
I
one
need to
up.
get me one.
cool. I need to get some too.
Just so I can.
Call
be
it
like-
Target.
I can just hold it and be like, "That's
I really wanted a Librarian Leva Bates figure, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. I think that'd be a cool looking figure.
One day, and she'll come with her own books.
Yeah.
Although she doesn't have blue hair anymore.
No, what are your thoughts on that?
She told me it was going to happen when I saw her at Atomic.
She told us too. First thing
But-
she said,
When I saw it, I was like, she looks great.
yes.
But I've always known her with blue hair, so I'm like, this is weird. This is very weird.
She said it was only been 5 years since she's had another hair color, and I'm like, I feel like it's been longer.
It feels
than that.
like longer, but when you have a bright color like that, like this, I've only had this for coming up on almost a year and a half, 2 years, but I feel like I've had this hair for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of maintenance. So when you have to keep up with it and do it and constantly, like, I went from being able to wash my hair whenever I want to only being able to wash my hair once a week.
Yeah, well, you don't want it to come
Because you pay a lot of money
Oh,
for
yeah.
your hair to be this color, and if you wash it too often, too quick, it's gone within 2 weeks. So,
Do you have one hairdresser that does that, or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
her name is Paula. She's out in the Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay.
I discovered her during COVID, and she experimented on my hair. We went from orange to orange, and we tried orange and purple, but it accidentally turned into like this blackish blue. But we tried to do pieces in the front, and so when I pulled my hair back, it just looked all one color, and I was like, I don't have orange in my hair anymore. So then we had to take that out, and then we did orange and pink and orange and purple, and then we like tried all this other stuff. But the problem is with pinks and orange, or with pinks and purples,
Yeah.
it doesn't take more than 1 or 2 washes for it to be faded.
Okay.
Like this because I'm a natural redhead. The
Oh.
orange holds on pretty decently, but the pink and the purple, like, I can wash my hair twice and you can't tell that I did it.
Yeah.
So I told her, I was like, I'm spending all this money to put this second color in my hair and it's gone after 1 wash. I said, what else can we do? And she's like, you want to do black? And I was like, let's do black. Let's try it. And then black slowly turned into orange, red, black, and now we have the look. And it was one of those things where we literally played with it for like 6+ months, and finally we just found this color. And she's like, "You can't change it now." And I was like, "Yeah, this is my signature look. I've got to do this for a while." So but I love it because it's one of those things where I never touched my hair until I was probably like 26, 27.
Oh, okay.
My mother was very traditional. Like, she always made sure my hair stayed long and I wasn't allowed to color it or anything. So
We're kind of there right now.
and for the longest time, like, I didn't have money to do things like that anyway. So I was like, all right, whatever. But then when I was on TV more often and I was trying to find little things that just made me stand out a little bit more, I was like, I think I gotta start playing with my hair color, and we did that, and now it's this. But now I feel like I've tapped into a whole other part of my personality. It's crazy to think that changing your hair taps into, but it really does. So I feel like I have a little bit more confidence. I feel like a little bit more like, I don't know if spicy is the right word. But yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, we got the OnlyFans picture.
My daughter, when she saw you at the show, she's like, "Did you see her hair? It's the coolest."
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, because I remember when Paramore first became a thing, I looked at Haley and I was like, she's so bold. And now it's like I get little girls coming up to me and be like, your hair is so
Oh, yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, am I the Paramore to them? Like, it's just it's so
Pretty
cool.
much.
I'm like, am I their version of Haley? Oh no, I don't want to do that. Let's do white.
Pretty much.
So that's why, like, sometimes I'll post and I'll use Paramore songs.
Oh, okay.
I want people to understand that this is the vibe I'm going for.
Oh. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was actually sitting at Leva's merch table helping her out. He's like, Dad, I want to go over there and get a picture. I'm like,
Oh.
all right, we'll go over there. It'll be okay.
Never be shy to come to my table. I know that I'm big and like muscular and scary looking, but one of the nicest people I'll ever meet. So. I keep thinking that these caps are gonna stay on and they're not. I need to learn my lesson and be done. So the fun fact, this was taken on my iPhone 12.
Oh, there you go.
Which I was very surprised because I did another signing where they had a limited version of this picture, and I was blown away by how well it printed out. I was like, I took, because sometimes
But
you
cameras, cell phone cameras
Yeah.
now are like really
That's true.
good.
Yeah.
I have people that have like the professional Nikon, whatever, and then the new like Galaxy 30 or whatever comes out, and it's like,
Portrait mode of a dude is just like,
Oh,
boom.
yeah.
portrait mode. Yep,
Yep.
yep. But like the way it was explained to me by one of my photography friends is the more you transfer a picture file, the worse quality it
Yeah.
gets. So I figured like, oh well, I took this on my phone, I posted online, so people are saving it from online and putting it on their thing, so the quality will probably go down if they try to print it. But then when I saw it printed, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. So
yeah, that normally would be the case. Like,
Many times we printed 8x10s, and I go, I'm gonna print one to see how this is because it doesn't look that great on here. And then it prints out, I'm like, no, not doing it.
that's why when I was printing my own stuff, I did the same thing. But also like, I don't think I picked the right type of paper or picture paper because I remember like it didn't have this gloss feeling. It was a lot more dry feeling. It was kind of shiny. But
We
not
tried a lot of paper that we get it, and it comes out scratched and
Oh.
blurry and blotchy, and it took a long time for us to find the right printer and the paper
Yeah.
to just let it go.
oh, it's good that you're able to print all this stuff out. I mean,
Yes, we
Yeah.
print everything ourselves except for the cards soon, but everything else will be printed out by us. So
that's very cool.
So a week before every signing, except for advertising the signing, you won't see us posting about anything because that's what we're doing.
It's just printing.
Because it'll be on all of our devices printing, and then if you go off of that, it might mess up the whole order of printing. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess you want to keep them in order so that.
I had to, so like, I only started off with, I didn't start printing out my pictures to sell probably until more recently, because I worried more about wrestling
Yeah.
back then. I wasn't as worried about merch. I was just like, I want to get booked. And I also was naive to how much money you could make from it. So I didn't start printing pictures until recently, but I'm curious to see if I go back and get my old pictures, how well those would sell. But I have like a bunch now to the point where I had to start getting my own filing system because like I was like losing track of how many I had of each one. And now there's some pictures that are old that don't sell as well anymore, but I'm like, I have so many of them left over. So I'm like, all right, I need to get off my ass and go to like an online sale or maybe even just like reach out to somebody and be like, hey, I have these pictures. If I sign them for you, how much will you pay me for them?
Yeah, right.
there's been times at wrestling shows where a wrestler would come up to us and say, hey, I'm getting new 8x10s. Would you want to buy my inventory that I have tonight?
Yeah.
Take everything.
Okay, so that is
And I'm like, okay.
For sure it is a thing.
That's the first transaction we had with Vincent was, hey, I want all these gone. You want to do a deal for all of them? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, these white ones don't like me anymore.
And we can get about,
Do you have any more white
Do you
pens?
remember the new?
yes,
I have another one. I know.
we can get about 150 to 200 8x10s to someone the next day.
Yeah.
We would probably have to ship them to you in your case, unless
Yeah.
you're in the area. But yeah, you'd probably have them 3 or 4 days later, probably.
Oh, yeah.
So A lot of wrestlers in Orlando, when they're about to fly out for like WrestleMania weekend,
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Hey, I need 108 by 10s tomorrow. Can you get them to me?" I'm like, "Yep, that's fine."
That's great. That's good business.
But you
though.
just push it down.
Yeah, you gotta hold it down till the, yeah, it's.
The amount of wrestlers we met at Walgreens and Walmart and stuff like that, they're about to fly out. We pull in, "Hey,
Yeah,
here's your 8 by 10s."
that's what we do.
There's a
We meet
new
right
one
now.
with no cap.
Oh right.
Which
Oh,
one do
she
you
put
want?
them on the white paper.
I guess,
That's
yeah.
impressive.
Those are the best paint pens.
Yeah.
Grab that one.
This one?
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter.
And we did have a question. Who do you think's the next rising star in wrestling?
That's a good question because I think right now there's like
A lot.
it's
There's a
probably-
lot. There's a lot for sure. I think Becca.
Okay.
I think whether she's posting clips of her matches or clips of her character work, like I just think she's very, very creative human being. I've only wrestled her the one time in that triple threat between myself, her, and Markova. But I just remember being so impressed by her and her creativity. I think she's doing something that nobody else is really doing right now, the whole pop star gimmick. But
yeah.
it's not, but like she's not just like coming out dressed like a pop star. She literally goes on her Instagram and she does like I just want to apologize to all my fans, and like she does like the Kardashian style stuff. Like she really gets into it, and I'm very appreciative of people who do stuff not just for the matches that they have coming up, but stuff for their character constantly online as well.
Oh, right, yeah.
Sometimes we get caught up in the schedule of it all, and we don't take time to do that. We just wait until somebody puts a camera in front of us to do that. And I think it's really cool when you see wrestlers who take the time to do that, no matter how busy their schedule is. And I think she's one of those people that she's just, she's very creative, because at one point she did the scrunchie gimmick, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was solely what it was all about, but I remember she did the scrunchie thing for a while, and then all of a sudden she evolved into the pop star. And I just remember like, her strikes are hard, like they're hard hitting, and I like hard hitting strikes. So I was impressed with her in the ring, and I always keep up with her stuff online. I'm like, she's what she does is just very clever, I think. So that's the first name that popped in my head.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. So I have to think about guys though. I pay attention more to girls than I do guys. Like at least recent people.
But this has to be the best time ever in wrestling for women's wrestling, right?
Oh,
like
100%.
I mean, it's not even close. Like there's so many people now. And, like,
Because people have been given a taste of what women can do from various platforms, and so people are starting to finally open up the platforms everywhere, not just the bigger platforms for women. And so now that we realize, like, hey, there's a little bit more of a spot for us, we're all very hungry. We're all working very hard, and there's some people who aren't just settling for being the female match of the show. They're gonna settle to be the best match of the show. And I know a lot of girls like that. I myself am like that.
Right.
Like there's nothing that makes me happier than when I'm on a show and we're the only girls match and men come up to my table and say, "Yo, that was the best match of the show."
Yeah.
And some of them might just, be patting my back to pat my back, but still, it's a very big thing to me when I can get that compliment, because I'm like, "You're damn right, it's the best match." Because I bump just as much as they do. I work just as hard as they do. So yeah, because we've slowly been able to open up that avenue for all of us, and it's not just a pipe dream anymore.
Right.
We're all like, all right, let's go. Oh, I keep forgetting I have a cut in my hand. We're all like, let's go. And yeah, so you got a lot of females who have always been capable, but now have more of a spotlight to really push the limit, and a lot of history being made all over the world. So it's great.
Yeah, I love to see it.
Yeah.
I love to see it.
And there's a lot more women's promotions too.
Oh,
it used
yeah,
to just be a
right,
few
right.
here and there, but now it's like it's almost becoming like every state has to have an all-female promotion now. So
You'd be smart too. I mean, that's what people want to see. That.
yes,
But,
yeah.
This is our second full year doing signings. I feel like 2/3 of our signings have been with women.
Yeah.
And we're not even, it's not like our goal or anything, that just organically happened.
Yeah.
That they stuck out to us, those certain women.
Well, also too, I feel like, and I don't mean everybody, but I think in women's wrestling for the longest time, it was the same type of female wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean they knew that sex sold. So a lot of girls focused on that part of the aspect. But now that there's more variety within women's wrestling. I feel like a lot more female wrestlers are coming out like, hey, I'm the grungy wrestler that fucking like there's a lot more personalities in women's wrestling now, and so I think it's exciting because people are like, oh,
I think
like,
that brings me back to my
you know?
childhood as wrestlers. Now the personality is back. When I
Yeah.
was a kid, there was a hacksaw guy, and then there was a hillbilly, and there was a King Kong Bundy,
And I mean,
and it was like
there
every,
was.
like they were characters.
Yes,
and
and
now
there
it's like
was
you're getting,
characters.
and
There
you're
were
getting-
characters for females, but I think for especially during the Attitude Era, women's wrestling kind of morphed into the sexy babe
Oh no, of course.
kind of thing. And
Yeah,
then, like there was the few here and there in between, but like the majority of it was that.
And for the
And
most
so so now like that we're getting to this, hey, there's so many different avenues that female wrestlers can go down. You're getting to witness so many different styles of female wrestlers, personalities of female wrestlers. So it's very exciting because it's like you feel like you're meeting like your favorite sportsman or your favorite
Yes.
athlete and stuff
Yes.
like that. It's not just like somebody with boobs is here.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, oh no, this girl's like badass.
Right,
like
yeah, yeah.
there's a lot more to it now.
She really will kill you.
Go ahead, tell me I'm pretty. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't even want to know how she got the cut on her head.
No, I
What?
had a wrestling match this weekend, and there was a part where I almost fell into the stairs, and I went to go throw my hands down to block myself from bumping into this. And apparently, the match before us, somebody had broken something. I don't know if it was a glass or a beer, like because it was at a brewery, so it might have been like somebody's glass or something, and they threw it. I don't know. But apparently nobody realized that there was glass on the stairs, so nobody cleaned it up. So I'm like full on, like in the middle, going like, ow, like what the? And I was supposed to like, I had to turn around and hit this girl in the face. So I'm like, why am I bleeding? This isn't a hardcore match. Like it was so funny. I was just like, all right, I guess this is what it is. But it's not that big. It's just it's fresh.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
it's just annoying.
I've seen some of the biggest like bleeding moments in matches that are not even supposed to because of a freak thing that happens. Well, I was at a show one time that Hardcore Holly was on, and somehow his eye got cut, and his whole side of his face is blood. He doesn't even know. After the match, he's like shaking everyone's hand in the front row, and I'm like, do you know that you're just like...
Oh, I'm sure
I think it was when I wrestled Serena Deebs, my eyebrow somehow got cut open, and I have no idea how. Because there was never a point in the match where she touched me. I was like, ugh. But when I got backstage, I had a big cut over my eye, and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I literally don't know what you did, so don't apologize. Like it was a freak thing. But yeah, sometimes that happens. Like because there's parts on certain parts of our body where the skin is really thin, and unless you like, if you nick it just the right way, it's freaky. It just pour blood.
No, it's a physical physical sport.
Yeah.
It definitely is that. I mean, yes, it can get
Just as simple as breaking your nose could cause more blood than a death match.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question.
Yeah.
What was who was the best opponent you had in AEW?
Quite a few people.
I was gonna say, that's one.
Serena, Cheetah. I loved wrestling Taya. I wrestled almost everybody on that roster. I'm trying to remember the ones that because there were a couple ones where we really got to go, and I think those are always my favorite because it was during a time where a lot of those matches were pretty quick. So the ones where I really got to work a little bit more and really get into some physicality, like those ones always really stuck out to me. And the one with Serena, the one with Cheetah and Taya. I keep saying Taya. Tay.
Yeah.
I've been around Taya Valkyrie a lot lately,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
whenever I go to say a T name, I always say Taya. I feel like I'm forgetting. I really loved tagging with Velvet during the time, so honestly, anytime I got to tag with her, that was always really fun, because her and I, the way we enjoyed tag team wrestling was very similar, because sometimes you have those tag teams where it's like, okay, my spot, your spot, my spot, your spot.
Yeah.
But I was very obsessed with, hey, we're a tag team, let's use each other.
That's awesome.
And
That's
yeah.
really cool to work with your friend too.
Yeah, and her and I got to do some really cool stuff together while we were tagging for as brief as it was. We got to do some really cool stuff together, so I really loved tagging with her. You know, I had a match with Danny Jordan on Dark that I feel like didn't get as much love as it should have. It was a very competitive match, and I remember really enjoying it. And it was one of those days where I remember like my brain was not working. I was so tired. I had, instead of driving up the night before, I had to drive up the day of, so I was still in like travel mode, and I was just exhausted. And it took forever for me to get into wrestling mode. And then I, like, right before we had to go out, I finally, everything clicked, and we got out there, and we did it, and I was like, that was actually a pretty good match. I'm so sorry that it took me forever to get there, but I feel like that match doesn't get as much love as it should.
And we have a question. They asked
I feel like
us
I'm forgetting something, but
for their name to be said. Daniel from England.
Daniel from England.
Any memories of Brody Lee?
I remember the first time I met him was in the makeup room. He was coming in to get a hair tie because he had, well, okay, so, and it's so great because I remember when he passed, like, the biggest comment that people always made was how much he loved his family. And I thought it was great because the first time I met him, like within 5 seconds, he was talking about his wife. Yeah, like he came in with this big smile on his face, walked up to one of the girls and said, "Hey, I need a black hair tie because my wife gets so mad at me every time I wear one of these colored hair ties on TV. She says it looks terrible and I don't want to make her upset, so I need a black hair tie." And he just started going off about it. So he had like this bright orange elastic band in his hair. And I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, the little things you gotta worry about on TV, right, brother? And he's just like, yeah, drives my wife crazy. So I remember that. And then I remember too, when Nyla, when the whole pull apart happened and Nyla just randomly reached over and grabbed my hair and bumped me and started beating me up. I remember he walked past us and he was like, "During my segment? Okay." Like he was laughing. He thought it was hilarious. He loved it. But I just remember like, amidst all the chaos, you just hear his voice go, "Yeah, okay," and it was just great. I was like, "Sorry, physicality." Like I loved it. He was a very, very kind guy. He always had the biggest smile on his face, no matter what was going on.
I really like how they're allowing Nyla to have a lot more personality on TV recently.
She's hilarious.
Because I'll watch vlogs with like Ethan Page, and I'll be like, "Why don't we get this Nyla on TV?" This
like I told her, I said, because like I follow her pretty regularly. Like she posts a lot. But I told her, I said, I scroll through Twitter and sometimes I don't realize that I'm reading your posts because you change your handle so freaking much that I don't realize that it's you. And she just started laughing. She's like, "I gotta keep it fresh. Like, whatever I'm feeling, I gotta go with it." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I don't even know that I follow you anymore because I don't know it's you." It's so funny.
And her feud with Serpentico is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
He's another goofball. He's hilarious. He's actually one of the people, he was one of my trainers, and he's one of the first people that got to experience me with the bunny gimmick when I first started doing it. I had like a random match with him, and he was like, "Don't think, just go." And he forced me to do it, and I was just like jumping around and skipping around and being all kinds of weird. He was like, "I don't know what you did, but it worked. It was funny. You got them to react." And I was like, "Thank you." So he's phenomenal.
That's good hearing from them.
Yeah.
Tony Miller is in the chat. You know, he
Tony!
does. Yep.
Oh, sorry. Hello, Tony. I just saw him actually.
What was it like wrestling in that pandemic era with basically no crowd? Like, I know you were like a big part of it, like having to go with no fans for so long.
It was rough, because you really you thrive off that energy that they give you, but it also, I think, because like we didn't have to work, like it's still nerve-wracking, but because we didn't have to instantly worry about the crowd, it gave me the ability to kind of tune in and learn about TV wrestling a little bit better, understand camera work and all that stuff, without having to worry about, because like I was so good at listening to crowds during on indie shows that it was easy for me to like, but having to learn like, hey, the people watching at home need something too. Like that was a huge thing to learn, and I think because we didn't have to do it with the crowds for a while, some of us who had never done TV wrestling were able to have a little bit of a leniency on that to understand that better. So that was definitely a big thing. But it was definitely very, very strange. Because, like, when you're in the middle of the match and you're blown up and your body's hurting you, like, the crowd is what keeps you going. So it's very strange not to have that. But
now everybody can hear me.
Yeah.
I'm too tired.
Not to mention, like, the sounds that you make while you're getting beat up are a lot more apparent when you don't have a crowd screaming on top of it. And it's like, ah!
It echoes throughout the whole place.
Yeah. All right, this one doesn't want to. Do we have another black one? Because I think these two are
Let me
dry.
see. I'll get you one. Somewhere. Under here.
I don't know how to do it.
Oh, it's here. Let me take that. I should have taken that photo.
I don't have any.
I just do this.
Oh, you're a professional.
Daniel also said you should have been AEW Women's Champion.
I mean, I'm not dead yet. You never know. You never know what will happen.
She should be all.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, she'll win the NWA knockouts and AEW Women's Championships simultaneously.
Yeah.
Yo, literally my
It
like.
could have been.
I've
Yeah.
always had like this big dream of like being the one person that makes all the companies connected. Like I know that like that's I'm sure we all have like that. Yeah, I'm the big name that does this and that. But like I've always had this idea because at one point, like the only places I haven't worked are WWE and Ring of Honor. That's it. I've worked for New Japan, Stardom. I've done, I've done NWA, Impact, AEW. So like a big thing is like, how cool would it be to like have a title of each company?
Right, yeah.
Like it probably won't happen, but it's a really cool internal thing that I like to envision. Sometimes be like, I could do that. Yeah. Just be contracted
You
to
could.
all of them. Have a mutual contract between all of them. Just be like, yeah, I'm the boss, the big boss.
Hold out all the
She's
time.
gonna look like Osmo Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Osmo Dragon times two. People all about.
Cardona tried to do that with the.
I mean, there are some companies that allow that, but
Yeah, more than that.
there's one or two that probably won't.
There's one or two that you might have mentioned.
But it's okay because that's how it is sometimes.
So you never got a chance with like NXT when they were doing the things in Orlando
So,
or anything like that?
I almost did work for them. There was a period right before COVID where I had gotten reached out to about extra work. I had gotten all my medical stuff done and I had sent it in. And literally the week that I sent it in is when the COVID numbers started going up. And so I got the email like, hey, we know we reached out to you and we know that you spent this money and we're sorry, but we've been told we're not allowed to bring anybody in right now.
Right.
And then by the time that I'm sure that they were letting up about that, I had already worked for AEW so much that I think they thought I was like contracted to them, so they were just like they just never reached back out to me. Yeah, so it just never ended up happening. But like I said, I'm still
Yeah, absolutely,
and
for sure,
my career ain't gonna end anytime soon.
No.
I'm gonna be one of those people that like I'll probably be wrestling until I'm like 70 years old.
Hey.
Like
If you have the ability to still do it, then why not?
I mean, I waited
I
until
mean, we just had Bushwhacker. He was 73, and
Yeah.
he still got in there. And like,
I waited until I was 25 to take my first bump, so I don't plan on letting up anytime soon.
that's awesome. I think there's a lot of possibilities to
Oh yeah. Okay.
continue that on. Which one?
I look like I've been painting.
Right, art class.
Actually, they probably can't see it. It's white, but
Looks good.
Give her another.
Sorry. People, a lot of questions in the comments about ordering, about questions.
Nice.
So do you have any titles at the house? You like?
I do. Okay,
do
so
you get to keep a copy? How does that work?
of the title?
Yeah.
No. Once I lose it, I lose it. But
Okay, yeah.
right now I have the Capital Championship title, the CCW
That's the
Network
CCW,
title.
yeah, right.
So I'm a double champion over there.
Very cool. Very cool.
I have the Belladonna. I forget the entire title name of it.
I know the title you're referring
It's
to.
MV. Because I just called it the Belladonna title, and she was like, "No, it's this," and I just because I've only defended it once or twice, And then the promotion kind of stopped running for a little while.
I got
So I'm hoping that changes soon. But what do we think of that color? Should I try the red one again?
I think that actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do it down here on the green. I think that'll look better.
That's good.
Yeah. There we go.
We were a big fan of that photographer as well.
Oh my gosh. Yes. J. Lee Photography. Them, Speedy, and Roland are probably three of my favorites to work with because I remember the first photo shoot I ever did was with Speedy, and I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I've never done a photo shoot before. I would like to think that I have instincts of pose." I said, "But honestly, the most posing I've ever done is with my phone."
Right, yeah.
I said, "So I have no idea what to do. I have no idea how to make my body look good in these pictures. So please, by all means, direct me." And he was the first person who ever did that. And then like, I've worked with a lot of photographers, and sometimes they're very good, and sometimes they're just really quick, and they're all right. But like, I always appreciate people who know how to direct you and who are honest. Like, hey, what you're doing right now looks terrible.
Right,
Stop doing it.
they have to.
So JV, Roland, and Speedy, like those are the three people that when I'm no, I'm sorry. Dead Lumens and the NWA photographer.
Okay.
He's really good too. And BZ at Impact. They all just I take a lot more better pictures with them than I have with other people.
Yeah.
And it's like if you don't have to think about it when you're doing it and you can just go and they still get a good picture, then yeah.
They also need to not be
I'll put
intimidated
you
by
over.
who they're taking pictures with and realize
Yes.
like, hey, okay, like we're trying to make this the best work for me too, you know.
Well, with BZ, just recently I was taking pictures with him and I went to go lean over to do this pose and he was like, "Do that, but don't lean over." And I went, "Oh, really?" And he's like, and then he showed me like why. He showed me the first picture he took as opposed to the next one after I leaned over. He's like, "You're so tall, but when you do this, you look like you're 5'4". He's like, "Don't do that." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
no."
no. Yeah.
And he's like, and then your abs disappeared too. And I was like, "Thank you." So. Because I like to think that I know how to work my body, but sometimes we don't. And people who are honest and just guide you,
Well, also
that's when you
they're
get the best
professional,
pictures.
then you know,
Yeah.
like look, that's why you're the photographer.
Yeah. And with J Lee, like I appreciate how they always have different backgrounds. Like they always have different lighting things. Like every single time I've worked with them, they always have a different setup. So it's never the same vibe.
Sure.
It's always a different vibe each time.
That's a cool shot there too.
Yeah, that was the night I won it.
Yeah.
First ever.
So is that like right after the match? Like, hey, let's grab some pictures in the back.
Yes, surprisingly, yes. And I was amazed that my face looked, because I wrestled twice that day. Because I wrestled Masha and then I wrestled Willow.
Oh, wow.
So I thought for sure, I'm like, they're going to take these pictures and I'm going to look so sweaty and terrible. But something they did for the lighting, I was like, oh, I actually look like I still have makeup on my face.
And Daniel would like to see what the photo looks like.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we should show this one.
I don't know, but I don't know where the camera is at.
Yep,
Can you
you're
see
pretty
it?
center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's me being all,
You look
I
happy.
want to tell you.
Yeah.
You do look happy. You definitely look happy. That's mine.
Yeah.
I'm the first ever.
Like my baby.
It's my baby. No, that title is beautiful. I feel terrible. I don't remember who designed it, but it's beautiful, and it's sometimes you get titles that are a little loppy, weight distribution wise, and this one's like it just goes right on your shoulder. Yeah, it does. You don't have to think about it.
And another question: have you ever wrestled in the UK?
No, I have never wrestled overseas because growing up with 6 other siblings. When you go on vacation, it's not on a plane. So you always take road trips like we used to have the van with the ladder on the back and the table in the middle, and it was all rusty looking, but it fit a crap ton of people in it, and it had like the little couches, like definitely not safe. But we owned one of those at one point, and that's how we traveled with minivans, things like that. So I never once in my life had the need for a passport.
Yeah, okay.
And when I first started wrestling, like I was kind of broke and stuck in the same location, so I didn't think I was going to be going anywhere anytime soon. But I just recently got my passport, so
She's
that
ready.
will be changing
She's
soon.
ready.
I'm just waiting for it to come. But I have had people from the UK reach out to me about trying to get a tour set up, and I've had people from Japan.
Oh, that'd be fun.
To get a tour set up. It's just a matter of waiting for the passport and then figuring out what I have to do after that and all that good stuff. But stay tuned. We'll be making this happen very soon. Because your girl's ready to what is it? Put some stamps on her.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was all excited for the stamps. On my honeymoon, we did Paris and Italy, and they didn't stamp it in either one. I'm like, we got this whole thing. They didn't
Yeah.
stamp it. Like,
Well, my thing is I don't remember the technical term for it, but I have the personality that when I'm around certain cultures, I accidentally like start doing little things.
oh, okay.
So, for example, what I mean by that is I was raised in Ohio, so I don't have any like extreme accent. At least I don't think so. But there are some parts of my family that are from Virginia or West Virginia or Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So whenever I go to visit especially in Tennessee, whenever I go to visit my sister in Tennessee, within 24 hours, I have like small little tang on my voice, and I just start doing stuff. And it's nothing crazy. I just kind of start to sound like her a little bit. And every time she always looks at me and she's like, "Are you making fun of me?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't even realize I was doing it." And she's like, "I swear to God, every single time you come here, less than 24 hours later, you're doing my accent." And I was like, "I don't realize that I'm doing it. I'm so sorry." So I'm really curious to see if I go over to like Europe and just all of a sudden I have an accent. And I saw, "Can I get some tea?" And yes, please. And like, I'm really curious to see if I accidentally do that there too. I definitely won't offend anybody. It's fine.
Yeah, no. I think you need to go out and try it out.
I just like to adapt to my. What is it? A gecko?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like to adapt to my surroundings.
Live the culture.
Live the culture.
Somebody asked if you are on Twitter. If so, they will follow you.
I am on Twitter at KiLynn King, Twitter and Instagram. I like to keep it as simple as possible, so I'm easy to find on social media. Not in. I realize that I phrased that poorly.
We always do that as the outro, but since somebody asked,
Yeah.
I thought.
Yes, and I haven't posted a lot lately because life. But when my schedule starts to pick up, I usually keep it very up to date and let you guys know what I'm up to, whether it's online stuff or signings or shows or anything like that. I post almost every day.
Did you handle your own social media?
I do.
You did? Okay.
One day I'll have money to tell somebody to handle all my stuff for me, but for now, I handle all my own social media, bookings, all that good stuff.
That's cool. I know that people still get a like huge kick out of like when somebody like likes their post on
Yeah.
Twitter. It's like, oh my gosh, they like my post.
I've had a couple people. Because like I've always, especially on Twitter, because nobody ever explained this to me, and I kind of had to figure this out on my own. Twitter doesn't make sense unless you're constantly retweeting stuff. Like people can be on Twitter for like 10 years and have 20 followers, and they don't understand why. They're like, my presence has been here for 10 years. Why don't I have more followers?
Yeah.
Because you constantly have to be posting and retweeting and doing all
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, because
Like
when-
sometimes it's gonna sound very vain, but sometimes I literally go into the search bar and I type in my own name and go to the latest, and I just, because people don't know your thing and they don't tag you. So I go in there and I find stuff that people, whether it's just a conversational post or it's a graphic post or video or whatever, and I find it and I retweet everything.
That's awesome.
And it sounds annoying and it's very time consuming, but like usually it's like right after a show, I'll give myself 1 hour right after a show where I'll go look up my name, find everything, whether it's about the show or not, and I'll retweet it. And what people don't understand is like the algorithms,
Yeah.
where it's like certain things that you retweet, some people will see but other people won't.
Right.
It depends on the content
Oh, yeah,
of the
yeah.
tweet. So it's like unless it's something bad, I retweet everything. So I have some people on there that don't expect me to retweet their stuff, so they're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, I
you
know.
retweeted it."
No, I hear that.
And I
all the
appreciate
time.
that, but I also appreciate the fact that you took the time to tweet about me. So thank you, and you're welcome.
Yeah, we try to limit our posts on Twitter, but we've been stuck at the same followers for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
But when I do post, 5 times a day about items we add to the website or upcoming events we're doing or whatever, people will say you're posting too much. It's flooding my timeline. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So when I don't post enough, I lose followers because they just don't. they think, oh, he's not posting very often.
I feel like there's a difference between Facebook and Twitter with that. Like on Facebook, I don't want to see all of that. But on Twitter, it's just like...
See, I only have Facebook because that's the only social media platform that my entire family uses.
Right.
So I keep that open so that way my parents and like my grandparents know what I'm up to. Because otherwise, like, because I'm not, when I'm busy, I'm not the best at keeping in contact with people. I'll admit that right up front. That's how a lot of wrestlers are. Like, we see things and we go, I'll reply to that later, and then we don't.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. It's a really bad habit, but a lot of wrestlers do it. And so I always told I told my family a long time ago, I said, don't take offense to that. I love you and I'm always thinking of you, but my way of showing you, like, about what's going on is because otherwise I would delete my Facebook.
Yeah.
I really don't use it for much.
Yeah.
So that's how I keep them up to date. But yeah.
Yeah, we're told all the time by wrestlers that so often they'll see our email, look at it like, okay, I'm going to reply to them, go for a weekend of shows, come back, and the email is so far down that you'll never see it.
It happens all the time. And then sometimes these counts really don't like
It wasn't meant to be.
Sometimes that it's really weird because sometimes I'll have somebody email me. I'm done.
Yeah.
Not with you. just with them.
No, I get it.
Sometimes I'll have people email me, and one of the emails will go to my regular email, and then the next time they email me, it goes to my spam. And I'm like, why? If it came through the first time, why does it go to spam the next time? Because that happened with me a couple times with NWA, is they would send me important emails, and I'd get them, and then the next one they would send me with new information, it would be in my spam. I'm like, that makes no sense.
Waiting moments.
Yeah, so that I had to find out the hard way but the problem is when especially when we're getting closer to pay-per-views, there's a lot of media stuff that we have to do, and we don't, we're told what to do. Like, we don't take, most of the podcasts I do, I've taken upon myself to get them booked, but when you're doing something specifically for a company, they're constantly flooding you, hey, on this date at this time you're gonna do this. So when you're closer to those things, you really don't look at anything else because you're just, every day I have to do this, another interview, and it's so I know for me personally, when I get closer to pay-per-view stuff, I'm just I can't deal with anybody else.
I feel like too, a lot of times when I'm emailing back and forth with the talent to set up a signing, we were talking so much back and forth that I've sent 10 emails, and the email database eventually is like, oh, this is spam.
Yeah.
Keep sending emails, put it in the spam.
Yeah.
And so...
Stop deciding what we are. Let us be who we are.
Mercedes Martinez told us, don't stop emailing me.
Yeah.
I never see them. Please message me. Because
there are some people who have reached out to me to work with them, and I think to myself, hey, I'm pretty sure I have that date open. And then I go look, and I do, but then something happens, and I get distracted, and I forget to email them back. And then because they never did a follow-up email, that date ended up going to somebody else. So it's it sucks that that's how it works sometimes, but if you're persistent and you're annoying and you come at it, we will get back to you.
I was told by a good friend recently.
I guess I shouldn't use the word annoying. Persistent. If you're persistent.
I was told if you have to email us every day. If we're not replying to you
literally.
every day. And I'm like, do you think that's rude? And they're like, no. I'm telling you, we could not see the first 3 emails, but we saw the 4th, and we're like, okay.
Because that too, and because I try to keep all of anything that's pertinent to taxes and stuff. I try to keep all in the same email too. So all my flight infos, all my merchandise emails and stuff like that. Everything that has to do with anything that I would have to write off or something like that. I keep it all in the same email, so I don't have to because I have 3 different emails.
Okay.
One of them used to be my wrestling email, but then it was there's too much stuff connected to this email. I missed so many things.
Right.
So then I switched over to Yahoo and got this is my wrestling email, but now I have so many other things attached to it, like the OnlyFans, Cash App, all this stuff, that sometimes it really it gets flooded and you miss it.
Yeah.
You miss it. Which is why I always appreciate when people, the caption of the email is very specific, because then I don't have to go I don't know if that's a real thing. It's very specific and deep. It's if you send me an email and it's very professional and detailed, then I don't have to sit here and wonder is this a fan or is this an actual promoter? Because that's one of the first things I was taught was if somebody's booking you, they're going to give you details about their promotion, who they are, and where you can find their product. If you just say, hey, I want to bookings you,
Oh, gosh.
Speedy will get a kick out of that if he sees this. He has an ongoing joke online with a lot of wrestlers about that. Yeah, if you just do I want to bookings you, we're not going to respond. We need to know who you are, what promotion you are, all that good stuff. Give us the details, because then we know that you're an actual business.
We have a template for
But they
every.
can't bookings you?
You can't bookings me. I never respond to a bookings.
We have a template that we pretty much send the same email to everybody except for hello and then the name of the.
Yeah.
Everything else is basically the same. We say who we are, what we do, where we are, and the people that we've worked with before.
Yeah.
Because I feel like.
And that's another thing too, because a lot of wrestlers talk to each other. So if you mention names and I go, oh, this guy could just be talking out his ass, but then I go reach out to the wrestler and they say, oh yeah, I just worked with them however long ago. Yeah, they were great. All right, then you'll probably get us booked. So yeah, always mention people that you've worked with too.
You got that, promoters out there?
Yeah.
We're
Listen up,
educating,
listen
yeah.
up, listen up. Don't say I want to bookings you.
Yeah, that is not the verbiage.
That's a pretty cool shot.
Yes, that was. This is one of the few. I think this is the only photo shoot that I did where I wore the stripe, because the stripe was very limited time. That was my ode to Celtic Warrior. Because my dad is so my dad has a little bit of Irish in him, but his side of the family is mainly Cherokee Shawnee, and my mom's side of the family is very, very, very Irish.
Okay.
So there was a period of time again where I was experimenting with my look, trying to do things to make me stand out a little bit more.
Sure.
And I thought about doing face paint, but I was like, I don't know. I'm this bright ass pale white girl. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be offensive to people. I don't know. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I have red hair to pay tribute to my Irish heritage. I was like, people don't know it, but I do have American Indian in me. I was like, I'm gonna do it, and so I did it, and thankfully, like it was short lived, but people liked it.
Right.
So,
That was cool.
but yeah,
Yeah, I have a lot of Indian, Native American in my.
Native American. I said,
Yeah,
what did I
Native-
say? American.
Well, you said American Indian, but you know.
I think it's called both, right?
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
referred to as both. I know some people are particular about which one you use, but I think I've said it both ways.
This is the gear, by the way, that guy
Yes.
Lewinsky made the outfit on it, and he did a great job.
Yeah.
I was actually somewhat disappointed that some of the sports teams are changing. Not that some of the names are not outdated, but the logo is changing from Native American. So
I
I'm
know
like,
which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
again, I might lose some followers for this, but I still call them the Indians. I'm sorry.
That's the way with us. We're like, but we are
But
part Native American Indian, and we aren't
I
offended.
never took offense to it,
No.
and for me, like growing up in the Cleveland area,
Yeah.
our sports teams. I'm from Ohio. I can say it. Our sports teams, we don't have a lot of big moments, right? And it's okay because we still love them anyways, despite it. But one of my fondest memories is every summer my grandpa would take all of the grandchildren at least once or twice to an Indians game, and I'm not the biggest baseball fan. I played it, but it wasn't like the sport that I was like, I'm obsessed with this. But I loved the sentimentality that, like, despite how many of us there were,
Yeah.
at least once or twice during the summer, we would always go to an Indian game.
Yeah.
Everybody would get hot dogs and popcorn, and it was just a really fun family activity that we did, and I loved it. And so, like, for me, calling them the Guardians, like, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, I get it, you guys were trying to be politically correct, but they're the Indians, man. Nah.
I'm from Maryland and Washington Commanders fan.
At least
You not just call it football.
We're the
team.
football team,
Yeah.
who were the Redskins, who were, whatever. So it's just,
that's what our reaction was. It's like, wait, but we're not represented anymore in sports. Like, there's the logo of the Redskins is a Native American. Now it's not. It's a
no.
it's a W basically.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I get the name. You can't, like, Redskins is kind of on the nose, but like, why can't you be like the Cherokees or the
Oh, yeah.
or like a
At
tribe?
the end of the day, it's what's good for business. what's
Yep.
good for all parties.
Mhm.
And I can understand that and appreciate that, but for me, like, I grew up on that, and that's what it is to me.
Yeah.
And like,
I agree.
I don't want to change it in my head. Like, it's changed on paper, it's changed on the jerseys, but if somebody starts talking to me about Cleveland baseball, I'm gonna say the Indians. I think everybody in my family still calls them the Indians.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. It's only been a year, I think.
Has it?
It's only been
Why
a
does
year,
it
right?
feel like so much longer than
I
that?
think they've only been a year.
There was like a 3-year period where they're like,
They
oh,
were talking about-
Where
we
it was
might
up for
do it.
debate,
We
right?
might, yeah.
Okay, maybe that's why.
Yeah. And also, 2020 added 5 years on to everything, no matter
Yes.
what you
That's
did.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Those days felt like never ending.
Yep.
So do you follow any other sports now? Do you watch anything?
Not really. I'm one of the, okay, so I enjoy sports, but I'm one of those people that I don't necessarily keep up with it.
Yeah.
It's one of those, I enjoy it in a social setting.
Okay.
And I know the rules and all the stuff, and I know the teams, but I don't necessarily follow like the numbers and the wins and losses and stuff like that. If one of my teams ends up going all the way, then I'm like, all right, let's go. Which, ironically, I think it's great that the Cleveland Indians decided to wait to go all the way until I left
Of
Ohio.
course, yeah.
Because I would have loved to be in the crowd that day, but nah, you had to wait until I was out of Ohio and was too broke to come back. So I was like, gosh darn it. I remember we didn't have cable at the house that I lived in when I first moved to Orlando. So I went to my gym and I walked on the treadmill for hours just so I could watch the game. I was so mad. I was like,
Extra
"What's the other
cardio,
way?"
extra cardio.
Yeah, I think I lost like 5 pounds that day.
I actually have a question. I don't know if you have an answer for it or not. But are we ever going to see the return of Ronin Pro Wrestling? And if we are, when?
I do not know the answer to that.
I ask Trevor every time I see him.
Oh no. I know he still is very passionate about it. I definitely think he's probably gonna put whatever product hasn't been released from the past shows, but I know there's quite a bit of footage that still hasn't been released to the public. But he actually works for GalaxyCon now, so he does a lot of work with Broder and the GalaxyCons, and he's got a lot of responsibility over there. So I can't really give you a yes or no answer, but I do know that he still has a lot of passion for Ronin, and hopefully one day.
If he needs any help, we will do anything we can.
You hear that, Trev? They will do anything they can. People want to see it come back.
Technically, he was the first person in charge of a company I worked with on a transaction in Florida.
Yeah.
It was not. We didn't work for him, but at one of the super cons, I'm the sort of person that goes up to him and says, "Hey, you have 5 huge Ronin signs. Would you sell one to me?"
Yeah.
So I have a giant Ronin sign in our house.
I think we still have one. He still has one. He might have a couple, but yeah, I mean, like, if you guys aren't familiar with Ronin, you can go on YouTube. There's not all of the shows are on there, but there's a good chunk enough that you could get the vibe of it.
Yeah.
He was very good at booking those shows.
It was
And Broder back when he owned it, they were always very good at finding the right people and booking the right people together to get a really, the cards, each match was never the same. Sometimes you get that at shows, the card gets booked in a way that you kind of get a repetitive match sometimes, but the Ronin shows were always booked in a way that each match had a different flavor to it, and so you were constantly entertained the whole time. So,
Yeah.
Ronin was our first independent shows, basically ever, that we frequented
oh,
while we were in South Florida.
yeah,
We met Leva there.
yeah.
The next show after I bought the sign, he got everyone to sign it
Yeah.
at the show. So it was Sammy Callahan and Jessica Havoc and Darby Allin and John Serpentico and Rocky Romero was there. Aria Blake was there.
Oh yeah.
See, that was a good business decision on his part. Because he said, I will sell you the sign.
Camille
and when
was
you come to the next show, I will get everybody to sign it.
Yeah. He's
That
very
was-
very good at business. He's very
Yeah.
good at business. That's what I'm saying. He knows how to balance a card with somebody that's really gonna draw, a medium card that they're up and comers, but you're very interested in them, and then the people who are just trying to catch a break.
Mhm.
Like he was always very good at that, and he was always very good at understanding who would be best with each other, and like who was
That's
the
super
best to
important.
represent the company verbally. Like he was always he literally watches everything. Like there's no style of wrestling that he's found like old British wrestling that I never even heard of, and catch wrestling, like
Oh, yeah,
old
yeah.
stuff like I've never even heard of, and I'm watching this and I'm like, this is great. Like his collection, like and he always tells me he's like it's not even the biggest collection in the world. I actually have a list of who has the biggest collection in the world. But he is very passionate. He has so much tape and DVDs and stuff. He literally studies everything. So when he took over Ronan and was like putting the cards together, like that was the biggest thing, is like how can I use my money the wisest to book the best card and give people variety through the whole thing, so that way. And he never booked too many matches.
No.
It was always like 4 or 5 matches,
Yep.
one pre-show, and then we were done. And he was very good.
It was pretty stacked though, considering
Is
just to be at a college gym.
Yeah.
Like
That's the thing too.
it was like a TV quality show.
It's TV quality, and in a big space like that, it's very easy to feel like it's smaller than it is. But like it always got a great turnout, and too, like he always networked with people really, or I keep using past tense. He networks with people very well, so he has a good variety of talent that he, like it always profited. So we miss
That's
it.
a hard thing to do in
Yeah.
indie wrestling, is to
Yeah.
make a profit. Most people do it because they really love it, and
those GalaxyCon shows are super fun.
Oh yes.
Oh, I love
And
them.
he's helping out a lot with that now too.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine how fun those are going to
Oh
be.
yeah.
And at the end of the night, I got him to sell me a chair that was used in the show too.
Did he? Did you
yes,
really?
yes.
That's so funny.
If I know
Keaton's
one of the
garage
like
has gotta be-
employees or volunteers, I'm like, hey, who do I talk to about buying this chair? And he's like, all right, I'll go ask Trevor. And he walked to the back. He comes back out. He goes, all right, he'll sell it to you for this. I'm like, all right, done.
That's funny.
So I got all 4 people that were in the match. It was Sammy and Jessica versus Veda Scott and Jason Cade.
Yeah, that's funny.
So
Jason Cade, that's somebody who is he still wrestling? Or
he's in LA now, but I think he's still wrestling.
he's still wrestling, right? Okay, I just haven't seen him in forever. But it's one of those things where when I started doing shows, I used to run into him all the time, and then obviously COVID happened, and I'd never seen him
I
anymore.
could have sworn Rumble I saw him as like an agent or something like that. Like they would like break up.
Yeah, that's right. I think
Yeah.
somebody said that he did get signed as an agent.
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was Rumble. Like I literally saw, I was like watching the Rumble and they were like breaking up fight. I was like, oh.
I should reach out to him and probably just ask him
I
myself
think
and catch up with him. But yeah, it's been forever.
Unfortunately, it ended prematurely, but his work at Fest was some of the best work I've ever seen as a kid.
Serpentico, Effie,
Yes.
all of them. They were doing a lot
I
of
mean,
cool stuff there.
the
Swole.
stealing the belt was one of the best moments I've ever seen at an indie show.
Yeah.
And the fact that you saw Swole trying to catch up to him running down the street of Gainesville, and you could tell she was about to catch up to him, and they're like, all right, cut it. We can't. We can't.
That's so funny.
And the promos that they had on each other before the show, like, they really, all of them collectively knew how to sell a show.
Yeah.
You watch a promo and be like, all right, I got to be there for that. Like, there's no way I'm not going to drive 3 hours to the show.
Well, sometimes too, you get those shows that are really, how do you phrase this? They don't want you to hold back. They're like, hey, if you have a ridiculous idea, try it. And Fest was one of those shows where it was just kind of like, hey, we want these 2 people to be the main part of the story. However you get there, have fun. And it was a really open environment. Like, I remember when I first got there and I was still doing the Queen of Crazy game, like, I was very surprised how open they were to it and how much they used me so quickly. Because, like, sometimes you would get there and they would trinkle you in here and there, and then eventually you would get, like, bigger matches. But I remember I worked there once. I also showed up a lot there and helped them. I remember one time I was wearing these stiletto boots, and I'd already been there a couple times, so I was still helping, but I didn't think I was gonna do. I wasn't sure if I was gonna do as much. And I remember all the kids that were there to help put the ring up and take it down hadn't really done it before, and I was the only one that was there to help that had done it before. So I was like in my stiletto boots. I got up in the ring. I was like, "No, you got to take it apart like this," and they were just like, "What?" And I just remember, I think I impressed somebody that day. They were like, "Yo, this bitch literally is doing this in her stilettos." Okay, and so I think I rubbed the right person the right way, and they were like, "All right." So the next time I was there, it was the Big Fest show. And that was when they were doing the eliminator matches, like a bunch of triple threats to go to the main event ladder match. And I was running late that day. Didn't know how I was being booked. I just knew I was in a triple threat. And they called and they're like, "Yeah, you're over. You're going to be doing the ladder match." And I'm like...
And you were a big part of that ladder match. So
I was like, this is one of my second time working for you guys. What? Like, I was shocked. So I made somebody happy.
It was a few years before we were doing signings, but if we were doing signings that night, I would be like, "We're definitely having that girl."
Yeah.
Whoever,
that was my first ladder match, and I went up to the boys too in that match. I said, "Hey, nobody gave me the heads up that I was going to be a part of this match, and I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I have never done a ladder match before, so please talk to me like I'm stupid." And they were just like, "Effie," I think Effie was one of the first people. He's like, "I got you. Thank you for being honest." And he's like, "What bumps can you take really great?" And I said, "I can do this, this, and this." And they're like, "All right, these are the spots you're going to do." And I'm like, "Thank you so much." I was like, "I will stay out of the way the rest of the match. I do not care."
What a perfect person.
Yeah. Oh, I love Effie.
I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about it. Like, there's a
Really
lot of people that are like,
Because
"Man,
people who are truly authentic to themselves and don't like try to bullshit you, like like whether you like it or not, you appreciate it and you like being around it. And Effie's one of those people. He just is who he is and he doesn't apologize for it. He has no filter and we love it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
When we had a signing with him, right before that, somebody like it wasn't a big like deal or anything, but somebody at a show somehow ripped me off of money. Okay, so I don't want to go into that part, but that's the part of the story that I told Effie, and he's like, "You know what?" Pulls out his gear bag. "How about if I sign these cards for free and give you these 2 ashtrays? That will even out everything."
Yeah.
So just don't work with that person again. You're even then. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Are you serious?" He's like,
He said,
"Yeah."
"I'm sorry that happened to you. I'll make up for it."
So one of my favorite Effie stories, him and I were on 2 shows back to back. I think one of the shows I wrestled him on. And then we had to drive like 3-4 hours to a different part of Florida to wrestle for Fest the next day. And this was the point in my life where I didn't have a lot of money, whatever, and I was just hopping in strangers' cars. So I was gonna ride with this random dude to Fest that I didn't know, and he heard and he was like, "No, I'll get in my car, you're fine." And I sat up front with him, and I was like so tired out of my mind. I had just worked all week and gone to the show and wrestled without any sleep. And I'm sitting in there and he's chit-chatting with me and he's like, "Ready to go on a trip?" And I went, "Isn't that what we're doing? We're in the car." And he was like, No, a musical trip. And he hits play. And I still have the DM somewhere. He sent me a list of all the artists that we had listened to that night. But I was sitting there listening to all this music, and I was like, "This is so freaking trippy and weird, and I don't know what this is, but I really like it." Like none of the music I could have listened to and be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard this at one point in my life." It was just all like really weird stuff. I just remember sitting there like, I feel like I'm in like a forest. Like it was just so crazy. So I remember I DM'd him not long after that, and I was like, "Hey, who the hell were we listening to during that ride?" And he's like, "I'll send you a list, kid." And he sent me the list, and I still have that DM to this day. So I'll have to go back and see if I can find them. But I just remember, like, I just felt like I almost felt like I was high.
Yeah.
Like I was
Just
sitting
relax.
in the car, and I was like, I feel like my brain's doing this thing, and it was just because of the music. It was crazy. So he's a really cool person, and I'm bummed that I don't get to see him as often as I used to, because when we were pre-COVID, like I used to see him quite a bit, and now I only get to see him once in a blue moon. But he's a cool dude.
Same way with us. We would see him almost every month.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was...
Well, he also used to come to Florida a lot more. I feel like he doesn't come to Florida.
Yeah.
He lived in Florida for...
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What? 5 years, 3 years, 5 years.
Tallahassee.
Florida.
Oh gosh.
Tallahassee.
He was billed from Tallahassee, Florida.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's the weapon of sass destruction.
Yes.
He was from Tallahassee, but he would do his shows in Gainesville. That's heel
Because he
move.
was trying to gain
that's,
more
a,
stats.
that's a heel move right there.
Yeah.
The FSU and Gator people don't get along too well.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny that you say that. So, my sister lives in Tennessee and she's a Bulls fan, like hardcore, like
Yeah.
season tickets every year. And I remember when she found out I was moving to Florida, the first thing she says is, "You can't be a Gators fan." She said, "If I ever see you wearing orange and blue, we're not a family anymore." And I was like, "What?" So, yeah, that's. So it was funny because I used to work at the Cracker Barrel over by the Orlando airport, and they always would sell Gator merch there. And there was one year where I didn't do it, but I was this close to, for Christmas, buying her Gators uniform and sending it to her and her husband, just to be the person who's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas," you know,
Right,
the
yeah.
animal. But I love my sister very much, so I decided not to do it.
Yeah.
But like that's how my family is. Sometimes we like to like.
Yeah.
No, they do
Like,
that.
you know I love you, but yeah, here you go, man.
My granddad basically did the same thing for me. He was a big Maryland Terrapin booster, and when I
Yeah.
was looking at college, I wanted to be in Florida. And he's like, "If you go to FSU, I will not financially support you." I'm like, "What?" But he was so diehard. Like, you can't be in the ACC, you can't be in the same division. So
Wow, that's funny.
UCF won out, and then that was a good thing. Kept me here. So where'd you go to school? Saying you're
I went a little bit all over.
everywhere. Okay.
So I did what is it called? The PSEO program,
Okay.
where it's like you take college courses while you're still in high
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
So I did that at Lake Erie College, because it was like literally right down the street from
Yeah.
my high school. And then I went to Heidelberg University over in Tiffin, Ohio. Yeah, I think it was Tiffin, Ohio. And then I got sick for a while back in, between like 17, 18, I got
Yeah.
a really bad stomach issue. So I went to my community college, Lakeland Community College.
Okay.
And then I ended up doing the sister program between Lakeland and Cleveland State.
Okay.
So Cleveland State was the last college I was at before I went into professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So that's why it was really trippy to when I came to Ohio and wrestled with AEW the 2 times.
Yeah.
It was really trippy that we were in part of Cleveland State.
Right,
And
yeah.
I'm sitting there, and I don't think I ever verbally told anybody, but I was like, I used to go to school here. People are paying tickets to come see me. And I don't know about the second time, but the first time I wrestled, or actually no, both times. There was a couple dudes that I went to college with that were in the crowd, and the first time they didn't know I was going to be there.
Oh, wow.
So when I came out, they were like, "What?" And because there was a period of time in college where I had kept talking about how I wanted to be a professional wrestler. So one of my buddies bought me a ticket to TLC.
Okay.
That was the night John Moxley wrestled Bray Wyatt, and
Oh,
like
wow.
the TV spot happened and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah, it was that one. And I went to go pay them back for the ticket, and they're like, "No." They're like, when you become a wrestler, we want you to tell a story about how like he took you to the show. And I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much."
Yeah.
And so I guess they were in the audience the first night. So when my music hit and I came out, they took a video and they posted it like, "Yo, I literally used to go to college with this chick." And I was like, "Yes, that's so cool!" Like it was such a cool moment. And then there was another guy. He was there both times, but the second time he got a video, and like you can just hear him in the background. I went to.
So proud.
It wasn't Cleveland State, but I went to Lakeland Community College with him. I took a theater course with him, and he was there. He was just like, "Her and I used to talk about wrestling and how she's doing it." And it's just really cool when things like that happen,
Oh yeah.
because it's like when you have to go off into the wrestling world and you're up in that bubble, you don't necessarily forget about people, but like you forget that they were part of it.
Yeah, right, right.
For a little bit of time, and so when it gets to come back around, you get to remember like, "Oh yeah, there was one point in time where they were part of the journey that led me here." It's like, okay, cool, we got to reconnect. Even though we didn't physically get to see each other, we got to reconnect in some way, and you
That's
got to,
so cool.
yeah.
They know.
They know.
They know.
They know.
If you're watching now, she knows too.
Yeah.
I think that is awesome.
And if you're watching, she told everyone the TLC story, so now you're even on the tickets.
Yeah.
And no, you cannot have tickets to the next show.
Yeah, it was that Nikki Bella wrestled AJ Lee that night. That was shortly before AJ left, I think. And then they used the hairspray gimmick in that match. Trying to remember what other matches. I think Dolph Ziggler won that night.
So you mentioned earlier, like your brothers and stuff with The Rock and Stone Cold, but were there any female wrestlers that you like looked up to that you were like,
China.
yeah?
I've said this in interviews before. She was the first symbol for me that like, hey, being like athletic and strong and tall and big and different looking is actually beneficial and can make you lots of money.
Right.
And for me, like, and that people adored her and thought she was beautiful because like for me growing up, I was always taller than all the girls I grew up with, and I was always taller than the majority of the boys I grew up with. And obviously like I'm very fair skinned. I have Irish culture, so like I don't tan very well, and I tried when I was younger, but it was just one of those things, and I didn't always understand my feminine side. So there was a period, and I grew up with mostly boys. Right. So half the time I was dressed like however, and hand-me-downs and all that good stuff. So I got made fun of a little bit here and there, and so there was a long period of time where I felt like the way I looked was incorrect, and I just remember the visual of her and understanding that people adored her and were paying her money because of how she was and how she looked was actually like the way I looked was okay. Like that was the first time I ever tapped into that thought process. And then AJ Lee, because it's AJ Lee. She's freaking great, and she did so much.
Oh, for sure.
Lita.
Okay.
Big Lita fan.
Oh, yeah.
And people are usually surprised when I say this, but Trish Stratus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think she was one of the first, like, and she had that beautiful thing, but she could actually
she didn't
really,
rely on it.
She didn't need to, but she could actually be really good in the ring.
Yeah.
But like, at least one time. That's the Disney.
Yeah, I remember we met China at the Lakeland Fanboy Expo.
I never got to meet her, but when I started training with Billy Gunn, he would tell us stories about her, and like, he adores that woman.
Oh man.
So like, the way his face would light up when he would tell us stories about her, I'm like, oh, she was a good soul.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
yeah.
My son had bought a Transformer, and we were walking by, and we're like, hey, can we get a picture with you? And she's like, yeah, of course. She goes, oh my gosh, she goes, that was my favorite Transformer. And she started talking to my son for like 15 minutes.
Oh.
And then she tweeted like the picture that she had her manager take a picture with my son.
Yeah.
And she's like, Dylan and I both like Transformers.
Aww.
I was like, I'll have that memory forever. She was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
They just started the special on her last night. I haven't got to watch it.
Oh, really?
The A&E biography special in China last night.
They've done some really good ones on there.
Let's try the red one again.
There's not a whole lot.
Okay, so I call this one my Assassin's Creed picture. Because this pose and this jacket was inspired by Assassin's Creed.
Oh, there you go. My son's favorite video game.
A lot of people don't know. Like, I don't play video games as much anymore because I don't really have time.
At the time. It's a time thing.
I try to play on my Switch sometimes, but I'm one of those people. Growing up, I could play storyline games all day. I would watch my brothers play it, then I would play it, I'd do it, but now it's like I don't have the patience for it anymore. So I'm very much like Mortal Kombat, racing games, Mario Kart, all the quick like gratification games. Like
there's 4 races that we're
I when I got my Switch, I bought Final Fantasy X and X-2 because that was one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. And I wanted to replay it, but I forgot how time consuming that is, and I got about like halfway through the game, and then I was like, I don't remember how to beat these levels, and I just gave up. Which, now that I say that out loud, I'll probably have to go back and finish it because kings don't quit. It's actually a thing. My parents had 2 rules: kings don't quit and kings don't cheat.
Okay.
I actually should work that into my.
You should.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we heard it right here.
I said that out loud, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm using my real last name as my. I should be doing that.
You got a pen? We need to write that down.
Cut a promo. There.
almost like the Dudley Creed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not kill.
Oh yeah, 'cause I was saying, yeah. So Assassin's Creed was one of the games that I would play with my brother, and he played it more than I did. I would kind of just like. So my brothers and I were all homeschooled at one point.
Okay.
And I'm the youngest child of all of us, so I was homeschooled the longest. I was homeschooled up until my first year of high school.
Okay.
So there was a point in time where my brothers weren't home during the day while I was home. And you know how siblings can be, like, hey, don't touch my video games,
I
blah,
definitely
blah, blah.
know.
So if like my brother, like if it wasn't a family video game, if it was my brother's video game specifically, he'd be like, don't touch my video game, but I have my own memory card. So this is back during PS2 days.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to take his games, sorry Lucas, play them with my memory card and he would never know. And so Assassin's Creed was one of them. I would play with my own video card, But yeah, so when I was trying to get a ring jacket made, I kept trying to think of all these video games. I'm like, for some reason, my brain keeps coming back to Assassin's Creed. So that's why I told him I said put the little divot in the hat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was my ode. But I'm actually getting a new jacket made, and it's gonna have Assassin's Creed vibes, but it's also gonna have like Vampire Warrior vibes.
Okay.
Like kind of, it's a lot more fun.
All right. Well, we
Very
can't wait
excited.
to check that one out.
Just waiting for it to get finished.
Picture of. But your same gear maker? Do they make jackets?
Oh, yeah,
and everything?
yeah.
So they do everything.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you have to go like one person for like.
I mean, I've taken the design that I have now and I've experimented and let other people try to make it, but I always find that like the way it fits and the way the finishing touches are and the longevity of it, I always end up going back to like the same two people because longevity is very important to me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the less I have to spend money to mail it back to you, the better.
Oh, there's that.
Because that's the unfortunate part is most gear makers are all over the place, so you can't really go to them every single time. Or you can't go to them physically in person.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting that they can make everything so form-fitting when it's like they're not right there measuring you and everything.
Well,
You
they
to send
have
it, like,
they have diagrams that they send you, and
Okay.
you have to get it like they always say like leave room for like half an inch or something like that. And then two, like when you're getting your gear, because most people let their gear makers pick out their fabric. I do not.
Right, yeah.
I'm very specific, like, hey, I want this color, I want this style. And then two, like, I found out from one of my regular gear makers is that a lot of gear makers don't realize that you have to have 4-way stretch materials. Because otherwise, it's very on you as opposed to breathing with you.
Right.
So that's something I had to learn too. So whenever I was looking for the fabrics myself, always having to make sure that they had 4-way stretch.
Yeah.
So that
Well, you
way.
didn't have to learn that the hard way.
I did.
But yeah.
But not because anything ripped.
Okay, that's-
just because like I spent a lot of money and then never got to wear the gear.
Right.
Someone has a special request. They would
Okay.
like to purchase an 8x10,
Okay.
and they would like it personalized,
Okay.
and an AEW photo,
Okay.
and they're typing how they would like it signed.
All right.
Is it this one?
They just said any AEW photo, unless he tells me otherwise.
Okay.
Almost. At least you want it to work out the right arm.
I know. It's all set.
Just left hand curls on.
So
I just feel bad.
I'll have you read it and see what you'd like to write of it. This is.
Blue is. Well, we don't have any blue markers. At least I don't think. Do we have any blue markers?
Let me see.
Is that a blue one in the Sharpie?
Actually, yeah, it might be purple,
It's
I'm
already been
not sure.
signed.
It's already been signed in a different color. Is that
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
It's already been signed in red. Unless
We got the impact picture
the
here.
personalization could be
In blue.
this color. Whatever it is, I'm not sure if it's blue or purple.
Oh, I like that photo.
Yeah.
I was having a good hair day.
She's typing.
We have the impact one unsigned if that's what you want.
Yeah, do you
Otherwise-
want an impact one, and then we can put that in blue if you want?
Impact pick is fine.
Okay.
And
And I think it will work, of course. Try pressing on that, maybe it'll be better, I don't know.
it'll be a brand new blue paint pen.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, yeah, that's a better idea.
Yeah. These paint pens, they sign pretty good.
Yes, and they last a long time too, for the most part.
Let me see that one more time. I don't
So
want to
yes, I don't want to leave
To
something out.
Dan, the international man. I like it. It rhymes. Thank you. It's so squeaky. Oh, wait. There's a lot, Dan. Come on.
I know. That's why I did not want to.
Repeat. What,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Reading
put
it would
this-
be
I'm gonna
easier.
I'm gonna sign it here, and then I'll put the AEW thing on the other side. One 23. All right, Dan.
Wow, nice.
Dan the
You really
international
put me to
man.
work here. Dan the international man. Enjoy.
Number one fan from England.
Definitely can't lose that. Nice.
I think that's cool. Like, you know, the internet has definitely helped to get you got fans in England. Like,
Yeah.
You've never been over there. You've never wrestled there.
It's
People
and
are
it's cool too because it's like it's one of those things where sometimes when I walk out in shows in the U.S., I'm like, okay, they pay me this money. I'm here in this new state. Are people gonna care that I'm here?
Right. Yeah.
So it's always a really cool feeling to know, like, yeah, even if it's just a few people sprinkled out for the world, there are people who
Yeah.
know you and who care.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you get your passport and you've wrestled in the UK, would that officially make you king of the world?
I didn't think about it like that before, but thank you. Now I will. Or I always like to say, the kingdom is growing, or like that, like new territories have been claimed by the king. So
I
but
love
it's
it.
essentially along the same lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, king of the world. They'll write a song about me,
There you go.
and it'll be
Songwriters
sung by
out
Billie
there.
Eilish.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what we want. Keaton, call her up.
That's funny.
Oh, I thought we were going to sing an Irish bar shanty for a moment there.
Well, I'm sure she could do a collaboration.
Yeah. remixed by the Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah.
Yes!
Yes. All right. Billie Eilish and the Dropkick Murphys are gonna make a song about the mother of
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is on
You
Facebook.
just
Yeah.
manifested
I'm
it.
pretty sure that they don't have a Facebook, but if somebody wants to take this part of the live and post it out there and tag Billie Eilish and the Dropkick Murphys, let's make this happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm really into this idea.
Manifest it.
Yeah, if they know there's enough creative people on the internet to make that a reality.
Yeah.
So
Screenshot this right now.
We actually clip things together and post them on YouTube too, so we'll just send everyone the video.
So if you don't do it, they will. So do it before they do it. That way
Yes.
you can be like, it was my idea. I put it out there.
Can't wait to be in the next Billie Eilish. She's like, stop everybody. I have a brand new song that I'd like to debut.
Yo, I'm obsessed with her. I've always been, I love all forms of music, but the biggest thing that I've always been drawn to is people who write lyrics that really, like, you have to listen to and be like, whoa. And she's one of them.
Yeah.
And she always, like, if you, like, yes, her beats and her sound is very catchy, but if you actually take the time and go read her lyrics, because that was something that I wanted to do with my life at one point, because I love writing.
Sure.
Part of what I studied in college was creative writing. And the biggest thing that I wanted to do with that education was be a lyrical writer for musicians. Because I was obsessed with having to find patterns in rhyming and storytelling throughout music. I thought it was so fascinating.
You still can do that.
And I loved being able to try to create visuals in people's minds, like the concrete visuals and stuff like that. So for the longest time, that's what I thought I was going to do. So I've always been, like I said, I love all types of music, but I've always been very appreciative of people who can go outside the realm of lyric writing and write stuff that you wouldn't think of. Because there's a lot of songs that it's like, it's the normal catchy tune, blah, blah, blah. But then occasionally you get those artists that really know how to tell a story in their song, and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
When did you witness my life? And how did you know how to sing that to me and say it just like that?
She's been doing this since she was so young.
Yeah,
so,
but
that's,
if I remember correctly, because I think it was Sawyer actually who, was it Sawyer who turned me on to Billie Eilish? It might have been. But I remember she was telling me that she had like a really cool, like she grew up in a really cool creative environment with a lot of people in the entertainment business, so she was around it from a very young age.
Oh, okay.
So that's why her mind at a young age is so like open to creativity so early. I could be wrong, but that's what her origin story that I heard.
Well, if you say it confidently enough, people believe it, and then it's fine.
Yeah, and then Billie Eilish all of a sudden is like, hey, why are you telling people that this is my life? This wasn't my life. That's just what I heard, Billie.
And Dan said, thank you guys and KiLynn for doing this for me. This made my evening.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
nice.
Glad I could help. We all need a little smile.
Thank you for tuning in from England.
Yes. Yeah. What's the time difference on that?
I don't know. Maybe
They're
you could
ahead
tell
of us, right?
Maybe you could tell us what time it is there.
Yeah, it could be. It's got to be
It's gotta be late.
like 1 in the morning.
So either you're a fan or you keep weird hours.
Or both.
Either way, thank you. Or both, yeah.
Do most wrestlers keep weird hours? Due
Oh,
to
I think so.
necessity?
Due to necessity, and also too, like, at least for me personally, my brain thinks about wrestling more later on in the day. So like at night, that's when my brain starts thinking like spots and combinations and things like that. Whereas opposed to the early part of the day, I'm like, I gotta get to the gym, go train, and I gotta eat the right food, and it's not until later on at night that I'm like, all right, wrestling, and but I've always been a night owl since I was a kid, so I think that's another reason why the schedule that wrestlers have to keep has been okay with me.
You gotta get the late check out of until the next day.
It is almost 3 o'clock in the morning there.
Damn, Dan!
You're the man, Dan.
International
It
man!
does keep wrestling hours.
When I say that out loud, I want to start singing the Secret Asian Man song. Secret
Asian man. Seems like Asian show when nature calls vibes going.
What was the other show?
International Man
What was the
Biscuit.
other show that was based off the Secret Asian Man? Was it The Prisoner? It was the same actor. Why did I say that so formally? It was the same actor.
You're finding your British show.
You're
Sounds like Tennessee was gonna come out.
Yeah, so The Secret Asian Man was the original show, right? And then there was a show based off The Secret Asian Man with the same actor where it's like he got captured when he was on the job and he gets stuck in this community and he's always trying to escape every episode. My dad, I have some weird shows with my dad.
Keaton, look it up.
That
Spin-off
and
of Secret
that and
Agent.
Hogan's Heroes. I watched that with my dad. Oh gosh.
These shows are all still on TV now. Like, all these shows are
Yeah,
still
but you
on
ask
stuff.
anybody from my generation, and they're like, "What show?"
My kids watch MASH. Every day I come
Oh,
home, it's
really?
like MASH. I'm
I
like,
used to
Yeah.
watch
So
that.
there's 3, and The Prisoner is one of them.
What was the third one?
Oh, there's 2 others: Secret Agent and Danger Man.
Danger Man.
danger.
We might have watched that one too. That sounds really familiar. I'll have to go look this up now. Yeah, like, because I'm a daddy's girl. So I literally anything that he would watch, I would watch. And then obviously growing up with a bunch of brothers, you just want to like be a part of the boys club. So
Oh, yeah.
I watch whatever they watch. So I kind of got all the different fandoms.
Oh, and Daniel's the Danger Mouse.
That's a cartoon. That was a fun
Yeah, I don't
cartoon.
think that's the same
No, definitely not.
franchise. No, because this was like all based off the same character and the same actor. It was just it was different shows based off the original show, The Secret Agent Man, if I'm remembering it correctly.
It's like Cheers and Frasier.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Good for the actor though. Normally the spin-off like takes it to
Yes.
somebody else. You're like, I'm still getting in this. I'm still
Yeah.
getting paid.
Well, we've been binge watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the first time ever.
I am such a big Buffy nerd. You just made my night by saying that.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
we'll be purchasing a lot of card boxes that you can get autographs and proper relic pieces
Yeah.
on cards. So
I was at one of the cons, and I very rarely buy anything at them. Like,
Yeah.
I'll go try to find like really cool T-shirts and stuff, because when you go online, majority of the T-shirts all the same,
Yeah.
generic, whatever. So at one of the cons, I found a very rare Buffy the Vampire shirt, and I got that one. I still have it to this day. And then at another one, I found a rare Buffy the Vampire comic book,
Oh.
and it was signed by the entire cast.
Wow.
And I looked at the vendor and I said, I was like cringing. I'm like, how much are you selling that for? And he was like, $3,000. And I went, I don't have that kind of money, but oh goddamn, I want that comic so bad. And he just started laughing. And he's like, well, if it makes you feel any better, like these ones stay on the shelf for a really long time because it takes a real big like person fan with enough money. And I was like, okay, I'll come back when I'm rich and famous, bye.
3,000.
It was $3,000, and my mind. But I promise you, at some point, somebody's gonna buy that comic book because
Oh,
that's
I'm sure. No.
yeah.
So this is very early in the process, but I am connected to Cordelia and Spike now on Instagram. Somehow with their representatives and stuff. So that's a possibility for the future. Now, a lot of things have to happen for that to happen, but
I'm not saying that like a signed 8x10 of Spike would like make my entire life. I'd probably die happy, but I'm just saying like it's a very strong possibility. Wink, wink. So
he is my favorite character.
yes.
Um,
Okay. If any of you guys in this chat are Buffy fans, who did you like better, Spike or Angel?
so,
You guys aren't gonna like my answer. I was a Spike fan.
so that's what I was gonna say with the TV shows, because there's Buffy, there's Angel, there's Spike.
Yes.
So sometimes simultaneously they're on multiple shows in
Yeah.
every week. So it's like, can you imagine having that job that you're like, yeah, I'm on 3 very popular TV shows at once.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like Angel, but let's think about this from a legal standpoint. Okay. Okay. Get my chapstick out.
She's getting serious.
Yeah, she's preparing for the case.
Angel fell in love with Buffy and dated her when she was 16 years old, and he was 100 and what? At least Spike waited until she was over 18, and she was an adult and had lived a little.
She was well into college by then.
Yes. Like, Spike, okay, sure, he's a rough dude to process, but at least he waited until a legal age. He kissed her when she was still in high school. And as beautiful as the story between Angel and Buffy is, that's creepy. That's creepy. Sorry. I love that actor, I love that character,
Oh,
but if
that's
you think
it.
about it from that standpoint,
Never thought about that.
We just
Because you get caught up in the sci-fi and the romanticism of it, but in reality,
Yeah.
freaking creepy.
A lot of those things come back now, and you're like, "Oh, that's creepy."
Yeah.
That song,
Yeah.
She's just 16
Now-
years old. You're a creeper.
Don't get me wrong. The first time, because I've watched that show so many times now, the first time I watched the show, I didn't think about it like that. I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, Angel, oh, Spike, they both love her in different ways, and it's what she needed at the time. But then I went back and watched it at an older age, and I was like, wait a minute. No. I was like, this is not right.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're a vampire, but you're also a predator.
Yeah.
until a month ago.
You said that you have a soul. Sorry. I keep cutting you off.
Until a month ago, I've never seen an episode of Buffy until.
Yeah.
And
But
we're just starting season 7, so we've done 6 seasons in like a month. So
Can we think about that though? He lost his soul after he had sex with her. With a teenager. He had a soul. He technically committed a crime and then he lost his soul. Was that the writer's secret hidden message? And it just, you really have to think
I
about
never
it to
thought
get it.
about
and
Right?
and-
Like-
Yeah.
And meanwhile, after Spike slept with her, he worked to gain back his soul.
Yep.
So
Redemption.
it's the complete opposite.
That's true.
And he had to go through a lot of crap to get his soul back.
Now this is
Because once you cross that line, you can't uncross it.
20 years ago, but still, spoiler alert. The last episode I watched was when he regained his soul.
Yeah.
So that's all I.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Oh, like you're still watching it for the first time.
Yes. So.
Yeah.
All right, I just told
Well,
you. So Spike and her get together at some point.
Well,
Sorry, I spoiled that for you.
Seasons 1 through 6 we've done. I watched already.
Oh, okay.
We just have season 7 to go. So,
Okay.
There was 7 years of that show.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And they're 1 hour shows
And
every.
I still get teary eyed in the season finale every time. Partly just because it's the fact that the story's done and you're like
Yeah.
sad. But continue, sorry.
I feel like 20 years later, we're kind of due for some sort of reunion or
Oh,
spin-off,
yes.
or not spin-off, but like something new in the world of Buffy the Vampire
Well,
Slayer.
she's not doing too much now, right?
She just started a new
She's
show,
done a lot of projects. Like yeah.
but I'm a big How I Met Your Mother fan.
Yeah.
So Allison Hannigan has only been Lily for me my entire life until a month ago.
Yeah.
So when we started watching, we're like, oh yeah, Lily's in the show.
Yeah.
But everyone else would be like watching How I Met Your Mother and going, oh, Willow is in the show.
Yeah.
I think I experienced her as Willow before I experienced her as Lily. But I remember it took me a while to get used to her as Lily because she was Willow. She was the witch.
I'm different than both of you. I'm American Pie, so I'm
Oh
Me
yeah.
too.
See, like there's such different
Yeah.
franchises,
Yeah.
which is great because
Yeah.
it shows the range of an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you forget because once you get attached to one franchise, you kind of forget. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they
Yeah.
did these other ones. Um,
So you had video games as a kid. Did you ever have the Buffy the Vampire video game as a
I
kid?
didn't
Ah.
because
See, now you're making me
I
buy video
didn't,
games.
I didn't get into Buffy the Vampire until I was older.
Yeah.
Because my parents didn't let me watch scary things on TV when I was a kid, which joke's on them because the way that our house was set up is one room. If you were looking at the reflection of the window, you could see the TV from another room into the living room. So another show that I'm a huge nerd for is X-Files.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
growing up, my parents would watch that, but they would make us leave the room when they watched it because they never knew what to
Yeah.
expect.
Yeah.
Because they were watching it when it was like fresh on TV.
Oh yeah.
So I would secretly watch it from through the window, and obviously like everything was backwards because it was on the window. But I would watch it, and my parents never knew, and I was a huge fan of it. I loved the music, I loved the characters, I loved the mystery. I'm a big fan of mystery shows. So when I got into high school and my parents were a little bit more lenient about what we watched, I got all of the DVDs, and every summer that was like one of my go-to I'll rewatch it shows. And so the first time I ever did that, I remember my dad walked in, he was like, oh, you're gonna love this season, this happens. I'm like, yeah, I know, and then such and such and such, and he was like, wait, how You never watched this show. And I went, oh,
Yeah.
so fun story.
All my friends were telling me about it.
All those
Yeah.
years, they never knew that I was secretly watching it with them.
Has anyone ever watched that show from like I think it was on the Disney Channel? So Weird or
Yes. Oh
I love
yes.
that show.
It's on Disney Plus too. That was
Yes.
That was X-Files for kids. So
Yes.
it's great.
So weird.
It was a girl. She went on like on a tour bus with her mom,
Okay.
and it's just like paranormal activities, and she had like a web blog and everything like that. Oh, it's
I
so
don't
good.
remember that one.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very good. Until they change. Is it still good when they change the main character or no?
I vaguely, I tuned out of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
I
I've gotten
remember they
very.
changed the main girl, and I was like, I don't care about this anymore.
And fun fact: the mother, Buffy's mother, is the mother from Honey I Shrunk the Kids, the neighbor's
Yeah.
mom.
Oh yeah. Well, I can try for kids.
We watched it like at the same time. I'm like, she's there too.
Yeah.
That's why, like, once in a while, I don't use Disney Plus. Do we have another red one by chance? I think
This one
these
is.
are-
Yeah, that one.
This one hasn't been used.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I'll go on Disney Plus and I'll go through the collection and see what they have in there, and I'll go rewatch all the old movies. And Honey I Shrunk the Kids was one of them. Because sometimes you forget what there was. Like you have the go-to classics that everybody always talks about, but you kind of forget. Is it working?
Yeah, it's good.
Well, we found Buffy on the Roku channel.
Okay.
So, in the middle of season 6, as we're watching it, they said, "We no longer support this program," and they took it off their channel in the middle of the episode.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Lucky
"My gosh,
you.
is there anywhere else?"
Yeah.
And they go, "Nope, nowhere free." And I was like, "No streaming
it's
services."
it's on Hulu, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes. So luckily we have Hulu
Thank
already,
goodness.
but it didn't come up as free at first.
Oh,
Like they
yeah.
list the free stuff.
Oh,
and then
that's
the
right. I
paid.
forget that they charge extra for some shows. Yeah.
And I was like, well, but if you have like the ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus,
Yeah.
does that count? And they're like, oh yeah, you have the subscription. I'm like, okay, so we can
Yeah.
continue on there.
Yeah.
But man, I was like, all right, that's it. We will never.
Yeah.
we have to buy the DVD or something.
You know so. Speaking of Disney Plus, like I fell behind on all the Marvel stuff for the
Oh,
longest
I'm
time.
so bad.
I fell so far behind. So the thing that I love about Disney Plus is the fact that they have all of them, but then if you keep scrolling long enough, they tell you like, hey, in order of timeline. Because they did a lot of jumping around, and because I didn't keep up with it as well as I could have, I lost track of the timeline and why this was happening when I hadn't seen that yet. So I watched the timeline of it, and then the thing that I love is they put the TV shows in the timeline too. So I finally caught up on almost everything. I just have to rewatch the one guy from Daredevil, the military dude. Punisher. I have to watch Punisher. I've only gotten like 2 episodes in, and then I got distracted by other stuff. But another show I just recently started watching that's really freaking great is Only Murders in the Building.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's
Good?
awesome.
Alright.
Like I said earlier, I love mystery, but I also love mystery and comedy.
Yeah.
And
Steve Martin.
the cast and the storytelling, oh, it's so great. And the building is like a character in the show itself. So it's like there's so many elements to it, and I just loved it. And it's good music too.
I think music helps a lot of this.
Yeah.
Well, I think Guardians, the music makes the whole
Yeah.
movie because
Oh, yeah.
they actually chose the music based off of what's happening in the movie.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
actually coincides.
Yeah.
This is it.
Just the posters.
That's it.
Yeah.
Tori's in the chat too, by the way.
Hello.
And one thing that was cool, I don't not know if he's still watching, but a guy that we grew up together in Pennsylvania was watching the show. I don't even think he's a wrestling fan or anything, but he watched it anyway. So
Nice.
I thought that's cool.
Oh yeah. Did you guys tag me on Facebook at all? I guarantee you some of my family's probably watching.
Not Facebook, no.
Okay.
Because I need to ask, like, can I tag people on their personal accounts? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh.
I don't want to
On
like.
Facebook it makes you ask that?
No,
you
but
just
the
search?
talent.
Instagram and
Okay.
Twitter is feels like it's very open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Facebook is
that's
like right.
also
Like if you're,
private.
yeah, so I was like,
I can
sometimes
understand
you don't
that.
want to tag somebody if their mom is like, maybe I didn't tell them. Oh, I'll
That's
go
fair.
and do this today, or You're in Orlando and I live here and you didn't come by to say hi.
That is fair.
Busted.
Well, my family's all the way back in Ohio, so I can't be guilty of that.
My wife's family's from Erie, Pennsylvania, so we fly into Cleveland because it's like the closest airport there. And
I mean, most of us
it's a good time.
Most of us are from almost the exact same place.
Yeah, generally.
Where exactly did you grow up, Chad?
Washington, Pennsylvania.
So we were about half an hour outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
we're all in Florida, but none of us are originally from Florida.
No. I feel like that's how a lot of Floridians are.
Yeah.
There aren't many native Floridians, at least
No.
not over 25 years old anyway.
It's funny too, because a lot of people always ask me if I ever plan to move back to Ohio, and my answer is always no.
Do you know one of those, like, maybe the Impact wants to leave from, like...
Because it was.
Yes.
It's one of those things where I was born and raised in Ohio,
With the blue.
so I experienced the winters
anything's-
and all the craziness that Ohio has to offer.
With that.
And it's one of those things where once I got out and I realized that, like, hey,
Yeah,
the
maybe.
sky's bluer some places, and you know, like I just,
This one.
as of now, where my life is at, I don't see myself going back. But I do love where I come from.
I would
Thanks.
like the
Yes,
way
better.
where I come from too, and I don't know
It's
if you.
not like snow.
Yeah, there's
It's just
part of
not like
6 months of the year that it's very cold.
And part of it for me is I tell my family all the time, I receive more opportunities in like a year in Florida
Mhm.
than I do the first 18 years of my life in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Especially now with wrestling and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Florida's become really a hotbed. Like,
You go to Target, Walmart, anywhere, you're just running.
But also too, I feel like, and this is more like a life lesson that you just have to figure out, like, I feel like once you get out of your comfort area where your family and your childhood friends and all those people are, you're forced to understand how surviving works and
Yes.
how living works. Like when you stay in your home state and you know that there's comfortability nearby, you tend to be complacent and not push yourself. But when you go places where you don't have that comfort, you realize like, I can't mess around. I have to work. I have to get this done. If I want this dream to come true, I have to really go get it.
Yep.
well, you've definitely done that. I think it's awesome. Yeah, no, that's really
That's
cool.
what. That's why I
Like,
told my dad. He's like, you ever think you'll move back? And I said no, because I think if I moved back to Ohio, I would get lazy
yeah.
because there's a lot of comfort there, and I know that area. I know how to survive in that area. I said, but when you go other places, you have to push yourself, and you can't not be working. I mean, I worked multiple jobs in Ohio. I just never understood like how to be on my own, how to save, how to do all that stuff. Like I never had to think about those things.
Has to be the coolest feeling as a dad, though, to be like a kid on TV.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're so proud.
I bet.
He anytime he sees that I have a show coming up, he's like, is that gonna be on YouTube? Or do I have to go like find a network and I'm like, but they actually got to see me wrestle for the first time live when I came to Cleveland for my match against Britt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was like they've watched my shows online,
Yeah.
but they've never actually seen me wrestle live. So that was the first show, and thankfully AEW provided me with some tickets for them. So I was like,
Oh,
thanks.
that's awesome. Yeah.
But they didn't know that. They didn't know that like they had never seen me wrestle before. So like I came out and I knew like, okay, this is gonna be quick. But in my head, I'm like, my parents.
Yeah, I know.
It was great.
That's awesome.
And I wanted to mention this too. Can we talk about the star power that comes out of Team 3D Academy? Because
Absolutely.
it's pretty stacked there.
Yeah, you got let's talk about it. We got me, did it again. Me, Camille, Serpentico,
Caden Carter,
yeah,
Leva Bates.
Jess the ref.
Yes.
Oh,
Which
that's
you
right.
can count her as a
Sawyer
ref and a
Wreck.
wrestler because she should be counted as both.
Yes.
Um,
Sawyer Wreck, Skylar Moore.
Jesse Neal,
Yes. Trying to think who else.
Saeed.
Yeah. Saeed Treehouse.
That's right.
Which-
We also wonder where
which-
Saeed is because
TV-based companies, you guys need to be paying attention to those two more because they're people that it blows my mind that they still aren't on a bigger platform yet because their
Talent.
talent and their presence is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I feel like places like Fest and Ignite and Ronin, they're really, their strengths are finding these people before anyone else does.
Yeah.
And so often we go to these shows and go, well, we have to work with these people because I've never seen them before, but they're amazing.
Yeah. Because I used to, Treehouse and I were in the same class together. Like
Okay.
we came into 3D around the same time. And Saeed was already off doing shows because they're brothers. And I used to get paired with Tree a lot in our drills. And Treehouse is one of those people where he's just so athletically gifted and just like, it's just, he can watch something and pick it up. And so I always got so intimidated having to do drills with him because I was like, oh, how am I going to be able to keep up? Like, he's so fast, blah, blah, blah. But he was one of those people where he, this one might have gotten a little.
Yeah, it's got
Oh,
some
wow.
Oh,
Yeah, so
sometimes
you
that
still want me to
happens.
sign it?
Yeah, we'll
okay,
do a
we'll
less
figure
than
it out.
perfect.
Yeah.
But he was one of those people that understood, like, it's not about me, it's about us. And so, like, he would always pay attention to me, but he would always just go a little bit, so I would have to push myself and keep up.
Nice.
But like, he always, if you did a drill with him or if you did a match with him, like, it was always about the two of you and both looking great and being in sync with each other. And I always just loved and appreciated that about him because it's so easy to be like, I'm athletic and I'm just gonna run circles around you. But no, he never did that to me, and I was always so appreciative of that.
That's awesome. 'Cause
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the match, it does involve two people.
Yeah.
And you look better if your opponent looks
But not
better.
even
Yes.
just matches, like
Yeah.
in the drills where, like, cause like when you're in drills, that they kind of egg you to like, oh, be the better one, come on,
yeah.
go faster, blah blah blah, and it brings out the competitive side in you, and it gets your conditioning way better. But he, even in the drills, he was always like, we're in this together, and I'm like, thank you, because I'm dying right now. And like I remember too, like sometimes we would have to do these push-up drills. And we would have to be like in the middle of a push-up and we would just have to hold it. And this is after we've done like 15, 20 minutes of cardio drills. So we have to finish it with strength stuff. So your body's just dead. And our school was in the middle of Florida. And at the time when I joined, it was the middle of Florida in the summer. And this building had no AC. Just a couple doors and a couple fans. That was it.
And that's how they
So
were
like
trained
you
in New
would,
York.
yeah. So you would be dying. So I remember we'd be in like the middle of this push-up drill, holding it, and I'm shaking, I can barely breathe, and he would just sit there and he's like, "We got this, brother. We're here together, like you and me, let's go." And I was just like, instead of him, like, "How are you so calm right now?" But he would always do that. He would his
should be a motivational
Zen
speaker.
vibe that he
Yeah.
has, like it's not a work. Like he is like that in real life, and it's great.
That's awesome.
And he swears that he doesn't remember saying this to me, but I remember one time, we were in between classes, and we were about to go to Target to go get like some wraps and stuff. And so we were like, Drew, you want to hop in the car and go get some food with us? And he was like, y'all going to Wawa? And we were like, no, we're going to Target. He's like, no, man. He's like, Wawa is life. I have to go to Wawa. And a couple years later, we were all at a Wawa, and I looked at him, I'm like, Wawa's life, right? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, bro, you said this to me, and it stuck in my head because I thought it was hilarious. And he was like, I don't remember saying that. And I was like, yes, you said Wawa is life, and you said it like a freaking like monk. And I was like, you were like so into it. You're like, Wawa is life.
You got the promo, dude.
Yeah, but he doesn't remember saying this to me, and I'm just like, man.
I do love some Wawa though.
Yeah.
Me too.
I went to college at UCF 20 years ago, and there was nothing after 10 o'clock to eat.
No.
Then we go to Denny's, that was about it.
Yeah.
And it's like now it's like you can get a like good sub at 2
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah.
If you go to the bar and then you like have a Wawa.
So in
It's like-
Ohio, our version of Wawa was Sheetz.
Sheetz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember after like I turned 21 and stuff and go out
Oh,
to
yeah.
our stuff, post hangout would always
Get
be
the Sheetz
Sheetz.
burger.
No, I got the loaded fries.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I would get like chicken and cheese and guac and like I would just get like these ridiculous fries, and I always regretted it the next day, but I didn't care. That was if I had alcohol
Well,
in
had
my
to soak it up.
belly,
It had to
Yeah.
soak it
loaded
up.
fries was what we got.
It definitely had to soak it up.
They used to call them death dogs at Sheets. Go for a death dog.
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That was the rub on Wawa is that Sheetz has hamburgers. Like you can't get a hamburger unless you go to Sheetz.
But Wawa-
now Wawa has hamburgers.
And their hamburgers are really good.
Yes.
Like
She's becoming a Wawa.
I went to Wawa and I saw it was on the menu and I was like, all right, I'll order a hamburger. It's probably crap, like whatever. This thing came because I got a double patty because I was assuming it was going to be like the really thin, cheap hamburger patties.
No,
And this
they're
thing
not.
comes out and it's freaking huge. And I'm just like, oh my god, these are actual patties. And I remember I ate this thing and I was like, this is good quality. And like, I was so shocked. I was like, this is gas station food. This is crazy.
Wawa is a big wrestler hangout. After
Oh,
I had to get
yes.
gas because I live over in Cocoa after the Impact show that was in Kissimmee.
I have
And
people who,
like,
I
there was
have
like
fans-
12 wrestlers that came
Yeah.
into Wawa after. I'm like, damn.
Wawa is life.
And I had signings with like 3 of them, and I said, Pete, go tell them who you are and who you work for. And he's like, nah, there's a lot of them. I don't want to say anything.
I wonder if I still have it. I have people and fans who buy me, like friends, family, fans who buy me Wawa gift cards.
Yeah.
Because they know at some point I'm either going to stop for gas
Yeah.
or I'm going to stop for food, and they're like, here.
That's
That's
a good
awesome.
idea.
Yeah, so I like every year I always get at some point, whether it's holidays, birthdays, I always get Wawa gift cards, and it's my favorite thing. Is like they know wrestlers go to Wawa.
Yes.
When you're cutting up the YouTube video, make sure you include that so she gets a bunch of Wawa.
Yeah, Wawa, you want to sponsor me?
Right.
No.
I had my Tusslemania shirt on, so Speedball and Trey Miguel were like, hey, is that a Tusslemania shirt?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I got somebody to talk to now.
Yeah.
I'm actually I've been trying to communicate and talk to meal prep places and stuff like that to get a sponsorship so I can run a company. So
All right.
if you're watching this and
There we go.
you know, I'm very active on social media. I got a decent following. I will rep the crap out of you. Feed me.
I have a friend, Priscilla, that was a professional bodybuilder that might be connected with that. I could probably.
Oh, yes,
talk to her and
please.
see.
Yeah.
She's in West Palm.
See, wrestlers, if you do this signing, not only do you have a great time, a great conversation, but you make connections. I'm getting cars over here. We got maybe a possible Spike 8x10.
Yes.
He's going to buy you that $3,000 one time.
No, I think that'd be great to have him and what's her name?
Cordelia.
Yeah, but Charisma.
Oh, yeah. That's a real name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we do cons, so
Yeah.
we could talk to the guy,
We,
Spookala.
that's also something you might be interested in. Was we do Swakala 4 times a year now, and Ocala Comic Con. So if you ever want a spot with us, we have a bunch of wrestlers there too.
Oh yeah.
Last time we had Vincent, Ryzen, Leva, Mercedes, and Shotzi.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
There you go.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we got some cards.
That's it. I did want to show these up. So this is the CCW, the Capital Championship Wrestling that she got the belt right there.
I'm gonna do just a KK on this
Whatever,
one because it's so small. I don't want to overwhelm it.
Okay.
I'll make them pretty though.
Cool.
Are we signing these ones too?
Yeah. Maybe this one.
Is this is an ignited?
This is one, yeah.
Okay, this is a newer one though.
Yes, that was.
she did a bunch of series.
She had one specifically where I had the bunny rabbit though.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the one you're missing.
That
There's
is
a
the
picture
one.
of it in a database, but they don't have any available.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll have to find a picture of it. But you had the.
I have to imagine that whatever company made them is still available. I can't see why. Come on, Kim. One more
I mean,
one more round.
if,
Good voice.
if she would send me the files and we'd come to a deal, we'll print them. We'll get them printed for her.
Limited time edition.
There you go. But hey, KiLynn King, thank you very much for joining us here at Keaton's Collectibles. It was a lot of fun. We learned a lot.
Yeah, I talk a lot, so it makes your
That
job
was
easier.
awesome. There you go. No, it was great. We know that we're going to go to Wawa on the way out of here. And if you want to sponsor her, we'll get some meal prep companies. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
But hey, we
all the nerdy things.
congratulations on all the success you've had lately.
Thank
And
you.
we look forward to everything that's coming up in the future. And,
And where can people follow you?
oh, yeah, definitely.
At KiLynn King for Twitter and Instagram. I did just recently start an OnlyFans, so if you're into that kind of content, follow
There you
me,
go. Hey,
subscribe,
sign up, yeah.
pay my bills.
Exactly. Right?
like I said, I have a Facebook, but I don't really use it for wrestling so much. It's more personal. And as of now, the only place that you can find t-shirts for myself is fullygimmicked.com. Hopefully we'll have some more options soon, but I do have a couple designs up there, so I'm not really selling my shirts at shows anymore, because as we were talking about earlier, it's a pain in the butt to travel with them.
Keep it under 40 pounds.
Yeah, so the t-shirt sales are very limited with me in person, but if you do want to own a t-shirt, they are at fullygimmick.com. So
Very cool. We'll make sure you go out and order them. But thank you very much for being here. We had a great time. We appreciate it.
of course, anytime.
All right.